Yeah, they should have a mount for this.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Medavie 5K Canadian National Championships here in Moncton, New Brunswick. Also, the Canadian Master Athletics Association Championship and a Run MB Super Series event, so counts for scoring for that. We're happy to have you here on the live stream. We're about to get started. And here we go. The open race is off. We've already had one wheelchair athlete, Dante Cormier, start 1 minute ahead of the pack. So you may see some of the runners catch him at some point. But our open field is off.
A little too far.
My name is Mackin, and Jeremy will now take.
Bonjour à tous les amateurs et les téléspectateurs du côté francophone. Mon nom est Jérémy
You could
Pellarin,
hit the button and you
ancien
could talk
coureur
to
de l'Union.
Steven on the too far. Yeah, this is good.
En tête, avec un temps estimé de courir environ 15 minutes 30 secondes. Alors, c'était quand même une base très, très rapide. Et nous allons voir.
Today, Jeremy and I both have experience running quite a few races, so we'll try to give you a good insight to what the runners are feeling. You can see now it's a pretty big pack of people going through. And as we mentioned, this is the open race, which is started here at 9:15. There will be a kids 1K race later, which will not be covered on the live stream. We'll take a quick break there, and then we'll come back with the pre-race show, doing a little bit more introduction on the elite fields at 10:45. 11:15 is the start of the elite men's race, and then 11:45 will be the elite woman, and that's our final race of the day. So, also yesterday, as part of kind of a dual event we have here for the city of Moncton, there was the Resurgio Marathon that took place yesterday. We just want to recognize some of those winners. I believe on the men's side, or sorry, the half marathon, this one is, and the winning time was a minute 24 or 25:44. Sorry, Philippe Bélanger. On the women's side, we had 1:35:28, Stacy Chestnut, and I know there's some other runners in that field as well who'll be taking part today. Then in the full marathon, we had Kevin Obe winning in 3:09:07, and on the women's side at 3:30:22, we had Rochelle St. Curo. So we have a shot here now from the lead car showing the leaders of the race. Well, I guess it's just an individual leader right now. There's a few pretty strong athletes in this 5K open field. I guess didn't quite make the cut for the elite section, or maybe didn't feel like cutting their chops against the toughest field. But yeah, it's going to stretch out here pretty quickly on this open.
Already the first kilometer there in about 3 flat, so going in about on 15 flat pace. And the lead runner, Antonin Gigard, qui commence une base de 3 minutes pour le premier kilomètre. Alors, il y a une tendance de faire une vision vers le 15-30. C'est ça que son objectif aujourd'hui. So he's flying out there. He could have been potentially with the elite, but you actually have to qualify in a certain time frame, and as well, obviously on the certified course, and as well to apply actually based on seed time. So as you can see, this is kind of the trailing runners or chase pack.
Yeah, we got a shot here of kind of the chase pack of the next group behind him. I believe this is coming from the camera on the B turn of the race, which the runners go down and do kind of 2 loops. So this would be midway through the first section of the first loop.
So we're coming up at turn A. So the turn A is the first turn on the course, which is actually where the intersection of Assumption Boulevard and Von Harvey. They'll actually turn there on their first turn. Then coming back towards the start-finish area, do a second loop on turn B, coming down back on Assumption Boulevard, going towards Von Harvey, and taking the last sharp curve at turn C.
So here's our leader coming through turn A. 4:30 is through there. I don't think we have an exact kilometer split, but he's probably about around 1.5 kilometers in. So
Yeah.
keeping around the same pace and right around that 15-minute barrier pace, which is a really pretty big threshold for runners. Then we got a nice pack of 3 coming in here, trying to make out bib numbers.
But I know we had a couple of seated athletes there in about a 16 minutes, so that should be probably that pack there. I see Jeff Gorman as well from Dartmouth, seated at about 16 minutes. And there's a couple runners at the 17-minute on the tail bag. So we'll see if they're actually trying to go for it, because Nick, we actually ran the course this morning and beautiful weather conditions. A little bit on the humid side, but still fairly nice and flat. Just the hairpin curve that you have to navigate, basically going through those pylons.
Besides a couple sharp corners, but besides that, it's pretty much as fast as you can possibly make the course. So should be good for some fast times, maybe some PBs, certainly some good times. I'm sure everyone will enjoy the race out there. So why don't we now take a minute, I guess, to recognize the sponsors of the weekend. First of all, our presenting sponsor, Medavie. At Medavie, the mission is to improve the well-being of Canadians. It does through the services of Medavie Health Services, a national leader in primary healthcare solutions, and the largest contracted provider of EMS management services in Canada, as well as through Medavie Blue Cross, a premier all-in-one benefits carrier and public health program administrator. This not-for-profit company employs nearly 8,000 throughout Canada, and one of its focus in the encouragement of active living, something we all strive to do. Here's a quote from Medavie. We are proud to be part of the Medavie Moncton Running Festival to promote healthy living and excellence in sport as a way to inspire people in the community, especially at this time of pandemic recovery. It will be great to see runners of different ages, abilities bring the streets of Moncton to life during the festival and help provide an enriching community experience for everyone.
Puis en termes de le commanditaire clé pour cet événement, Medavie, la Croix-Bleue. Alors, chez Medavie, la mission est d'améliorer le bien-être des Canadiens. Elle le fait par l'entremise des services de santé Medavie, un chef de file national en matière de solutions et de soins de santé primaire et le plus important fournisseur contractuel de services de gestion de SMU au Canada, ainsi que par l'entremise de Croix-Bleue Medavie, un important fournisseur d'avantages sociaux tout en un et administrateur de programmes de santé publique. Cette entreprise à but non lucratif emploie près de 8000 personnes dans tout le Canada. L'une de ses priorités est d'encourager la vie active, ce que nous renforçons tous de faire. Il y a là une cotation aussi de chez Medavie. Nous sommes fiers de participer au festival des courses de Medavie Moncton afin de promouvoir une mode de vie saine et l'excellence dans le sport comme moyen d'inspirer les gens de la communauté, surtout en cette période de reprise après une pandémie. Ce sera formidable de voir les coureurs d'âge et d'aptitudes des différents animer les rues de Moncton pendant le festival et contribuer à offrir une expérience communautaire enrichissante pour tous. Merci, Medavie.
Okay, just a minute there. We had a shot of the leader. He's at 7 minutes and 50 seconds into the race. If he's keeping up that same pace, he should be right around the halfway point. I know the second of the 3 turns comes up between 2 and 3K, just a little bit before 3K, I believe it is. So maybe we'll get a good shot of him there, and maybe we can see even the 3K split. I'm not
You're
sure
going to keep going.
have an angle. Oh, here he comes. Here's the leader. You can see he's pulled quite a far away from the rest of the field.
Great job.
He's putting on quite an effort so far today.
Alors, Antonin Gigard, quand même, mine la tête de la course ouverte du 5 km. Alors, il y a quand même... Trying to be all around the course, trying to encourage the runners as they go by here. So Antonin Gigard just passed, like Nick was mentioning, about the halfway mark. So we'll see if he can keep up to the pace and trying to see if we're actually going to probably see him in the next little while, as you got to be looping around on turn number B, coming down on basically on the final lap.
So there's quite a few top tier athletes from across the country, but quite a few locals as well. Some of the, like we mentioned, this is the Canadian Masters Athletics Championship. So just to highlight some of those kind of top tier masters that we have here. I mean, first off, the first one that comes to mind, of course, is Patty Blanchard, a local female, 64 from Dieppe. She holds multiple world and Canadian and provincial, of course, records in Masters running. She was just inducted into the Canadian Masters Hall of Fame. and is a former national team member, has 3 world records to her name. So she currently holds the fastest road 5K time in this event, which she ran in Japan. And she was just recognized last night at our pasta dinner kind of banquet event for her being put into the Masters Hall of Fame. So
Ouais,
I
aussi,
think that's her right. Nope, never mind. I thought maybe that was her going by, but I saw the singlet.
c'est Anouk Douaron de Dieppe aussi, qui est quand même qui a pas mal de peloton. C'est Dean Strobridge
Dean
here over there.
Strobridge is there, the lead of that pack. I know him quite well personally. He's got multiple New Brunswick records from mile all the way up to 10K in the Masters events. Well-known organizer in St. John as well of the Run for Renee series. When his mother Renee passed away, he started a fundraiser to try to raise money for cancer, and his goal was to raise 10,000 over 10 years, and he's already hit 10,000. I can't remember what year he's on, but well less than that. So he's done an awesome job there.
Nice, and also we've seen actually another master, very well known in New Brunswick, Rob Jackson, who's currently sponsored with Skechers, holds numerous provincial records in the 60-69 age category. Obviously, it's much of a middle distance, like 15 5K, but definitely can get the wheels going between the 400 meters and even up to 10 kilometers. So very fast master group that we have even locally from New Brunswick.
Is that Paul Thibodeau
Well, yeah,
there?
Paul Thibodeau there.
Thibodeau as well. Competing in the 55 to 60 age category. We got a whole range. He's from Moncton, a well-known coach, runner, race organizer. Has provincial records as well, indoor, outdoor, and on the track and the road. Another strong member of the Masters field. We have, like I mentioned, we've got a whole wide range of ages. We've got from young high school and even younger potentially athletes competing here, all the way up to Vern Christensen, 81 years old, from Toronto, coming is the current president of the Canadian Masters Athletic Association, and he's won numerous Canadian titles in road and in track, and he'll certainly be a contender and be out there. So 81 still completing 5K. I hope that one day Jeremy and I will still be out here. Maybe we'll be able to host another championship in 50 years, and
we'll be part of it. Yeah. Hey, we actually hosted today, so maybe the Moncton could still be, because Moncton, even in the recent years, we've been hosting the Canadian Track and Field Championship in Moncton. Even in St. John, there was the U Sport, it was the Canadian Indoor Masters Championship as well back in March. So definitely Moncton is putting itself on the scene in terms of the running, even from indoor and outdoor. So that's pretty fantastic.
So what we're seeing still here is in the shot is turn B. We're seeing some of the mid-pack runners.
Marc Baudouin, qui passe juste devant la caméra. Marc, un entraîneur présentement, actually, qui est quand même mon entraîneur depuis que j'ai recommencé la course il y a 3-4 mois passés. Marc Baudouin, obviously, Patty's better half, obviously known to be a very detailed coach and very precise on certain trainings, and obviously very, very well knowledgeable in terms of training method, as obviously he led Patty to multiple achievements or accomplishments.
So I believe we just saw some of our chase pack. I don't think that was the leader, but some of the other top runners coming through the C turns. That's the final turn of their race. We're at 12:49.
So we should be within the last kilometer here.
Yeah, they're coming down, and so that last turn is at just over a kilometer to go. And so, like I say, I don't think those were the leaders, but they were some of the chase pack not far off coming through. So when when you make that turn B, it's almost 3K, and then you make the next one, it's almost 4K, and that's really the hard part of the race where the runners are starting to hurt. The first 2K, you're still feeling pretty comfortable within yourself, and then you start to hurt. You still know you have a long way left, so it's a bit of a mental grind at that point. When you come around that last corner, you've got just about a kilometer to go. Then it gets a little bit easier mentally, even though you're feeling tired. But that really, from the second to the third turn, is where the runners have to work the hardest, I'd say. Would that go with your experience too, Jeremy?
Yeah, same. And even when we ran actually the course this morning, even when you get to about the 4 kilometers, basically with 1K to go, there's actually mentally, it feels like it's somewhat downhill. So by getting kind of that mental break in a sense, like obviously getting into the latter stage of the race, that's where obviously physically we may be starting to get tired, but at least you get kind of that mental kind of motivation by kind of going cruising down the last hill. And obviously you at the end kind of try to duke it out, but obviously you have the 800 meter speed that I don't have. So.
Yeah. Sometimes it's interesting to see in these 5K races. You get we'll see later in the elite field. We've got some superstar track athletes running 1,500 meter type events, and then we've got some marathoners, and then they meet up in the middle in these sorts of it's a distance race, but it's not a long distance. And so sometimes you get the matchup of the speed versus the endurance. And I'm sure we have some of those battles going on out here right now in the openers as well. It's a little harder to pick them out sometimes with such a large field, but there's lots of individual battles going on. I'm sure going to be lots of personal bests on a pretty fast course here. So.
Yeah, we're right now at about 14:46, so we should be seeing Antonin Gigard. On devrait voir Antonin Gigard se présenter tranquillement pas vite par la ligne d'arrivée avec le dernier sprint. So in the last stretch here, just trying to see behind the trees here as we stand near the finish line, probably about like 50 meters from the finish line. So we should be able to see him in the last little bit. So
we haven't seen him coming yet, but yeah, there should be a shot here shortly, and then we'll get the rest of the pack coming through in behind there. It's perfect conditions today. Very little wind. Nice and cool in the morning. Not too cold where the runners are going to cramp up. I would say pretty much optimal. I think it's around 15 to 20 degrees, somewhere in that range Celsius. So.
It's got to be warming up for sure towards the latter stage of the day, but still 20 degrees is still pretty good for especially for a 5K. For marathon would be a different beast.
Oh, there's a shot of our biker. It looks like our bike is actually leading
That's
the race.
That's what I want to do when I'm hurried. Honestly, that's amazing.
We expect him to stop by the field, but it looks like he's going to be the first to cross. And then we've got our lead runner coming in next.
Antonin Gigard qui s'amène à la ligne d'arrivée avec un sprint final. Antonin Gigard with the final sprint here of about 16 minutes.
Yeah, he's going to be just over that 16-minute barrier, it looks like. Our wheelchair athlete, Dante. So we have, it was about 16:10-ish. And our wheelchair athlete came through pretty similar time because he did have a minute head start. Now we've got our second and third place runners. They're coming through in about 16:20s. Yep. And then fourth place runner is now coming in.
I believe that is Mathieu here. Mathieu Hébert de Moncton. Want to shoot for bib number
16:47. We've got him coming at with about 50 meters to go. Our local road running athlete with a great performance here. He's coming into that final finishing chute, and when he crosses under that green archway, he'll be done there.
Oh, I think we see Justin Young there in the picture.
Justin Young, yeah.
With a pack there from the St. John Track Club.
Nice battle to the finish here with three runners. This is where you're really grinding, gritting it out.
Justin Young passing there, so still finding the wheels.
Great finish there for all those runners. As we mentioned, it's a little bit easier when you're kicking into the finish as opposed to the middle mentally, but certainly physically you can see from the grimaces on some faces. It's certainly not easy. It's just meant to be easy knowing that you get to stop them.
Yeah, but especially it feels like based on the last kilometer here, as you can see the runner coming up that slightly low incline and then basically rolling it down the last 200 meters with getting that momentum from that slight downhill. So
the next runner coming in still just going to be under that 18 minutes. You know, there's lots of different barriers that athletes can shoot for, which is what's great about running. You can always try to improve your time. You can break the 20-minute barrier, the 18-minute barrier.
Actually, I have one of my training partners there, Sean Guimont, sprinting pretty good there. Just got to be over the 18 minutes.
Being chased by Alex Coffin of St. John. He used to actually coach me in high school along with my dad. And he owns a shoe store with his daughter, Alex and Lily Coffin's shop. And they are one of the sponsors of this event today.
Jean-Michel Robichaud de Dieppe aussi, un athlète local, en courant 18 minutes 30. Oh, we have the first lady. Isabelle.
She's finishing in around 18. It's going to be about 18:45. Oh, and then next is Dean Strobridge.
With Pat. Oh, that's right. There's Paula Keating as well.
Paula Keating. Dean, like I mentioned, a very well-known runner in St. John. And
Arnaud Poiron, local aussi with Aaron Sellers as well, all breaking 19. Yeah. So very, very good barriers to be broken there. So
perhaps one of the biggest, I would say, is the 20-minute barrier, running sub 4-minute Ks. So we've got all these athletes coming in under that for sure.
Rob Jackson there. We have Shane Dobson.
Went
Paralympic athlete there. So
yeah, very accomplished Paralympic athlete coming in here for the finish. This is our second woman here now. I think coming a couple people back on the live stream there. You can see her just coming into the shop with the pink shorts. I missed the bib there, but
We have
So
Suzanne
it looked like she was
Myers.
the University of Moncton athlete.
Suzanne Myers as well, the other finisher as well, about 1930. That was who was about to shoot for. She was wanted to break 20, so that's another. I think one of the barrier for kind of an amateur athlete would be about 20 minutes. If you break that 20-minute barrier, you're kind of into a different tier.
We just saw a couple of very young-looking
that's-
runners coming in too, so it's great, like I mentioned, to see the extreme ranges of age from maybe 15 all the way up to 81. Lots of top runners coming in, and they're still right around that 20-minute barrier. These athletes are
Paul Thibodeau there, a very well-known coach that we mentioned earlier, finishing in about 20 minutes. So, and we have the longevity, Raymond Casey, the very tough runner, holds a few mile records as well. Still running hard at 72, so that's fantastic to see him finish. And we have JD Dupuis as well, a local Moncton athlete as well, finishing in about 20 minutes. So,
yeah, we're getting up to 21:30 now. I recognize some of these athletes too. I recognize we hosted as well in New Brunswick the Canadian Masters Indoor Championships, and some of them I recognize from competing there. So it's great to see that they had a good time in New Brunswick and they wanted to come back and get another experience, this time on the road. A lot of them even did the indoor 5K, which is quite a few laps around a very small track. So I'm sure they were much more content with the 2 laps here today on the course.
yeah, 2 is better than 25.
Yeah, at least I would say. So yeah, still lots of strong finishers coming through here.
Oh yeah, we have some runners from the Greater Moncton Running Club as well. That's obviously take a huge sponsorship for the Resurgo Marathon, and we have Edouard Book. That's actually Silvio Book, was very well known as well for arm wrestling. He passed away a couple of years ago, very tragically, but was able to be obviously winning multiple world championship, especially on his left arm with arm wrestling. So obviously Silvio and Edouard was known as arm wrestlers back.
So we've got some live results in now. We can mention maybe the winners. We've got. Do you want to go through the top 3 men?
Antonin Gigard, which is obviously the one that was the favorite to win the open race from Québec, alors de la province de Québec, avec un temps de 16 minutes 16 secondes, with a time of 16 minutes and 16 seconds. Was shooting for a very fast time. Obviously took the split at 3 minutes for the first K, which in terms of kilometers an hour is about 20 kilometers an hour, just to put that in perspective. Trying to run 20 kilometers an hour, trying to drive even 20 kilometers an hour may not seem fast, but trust me, when you're running that fast, it's a different beast all its own. So
yeah.
Finishing second as well, we have actually Ian Holdway from Halifax. Actually have a lot of people from Dartmouth, Halifax area coming up to Moncton to race at this race. So finishing in a time of 16:29, and very tight finish as well with Jeff Gorman as well. I'm not sure if they have any relatives with Dan Gorman, that was known as a very fast 1,000 meters, holds a couple records as well. Not sure if they're relatives or not, but at 16:29 as well time. So top 3 from the men's side.
We'll see if we can pick our top woman here out of the results. It's combined all the different Masters age groups. There's of course winners for each age group in the Masters category. For those who don't know what Masters running is, it's for over 35 athletes, and every 5 years is a different age category. But it's one combined live result, so it's a little hard to pick them all out on the fly here. But we'll see if we can get the women's winners at least. So the women's winner, Isabel Turner, in 18:49, which is a very, very impressive time. Next, second place in 18:52 was Paula Keating of Miramichi. We saw her finishing alongside Dean Strobridge. I don't know if you guys remember seeing that. They looked like they were working together maybe, so great to see those 2 well-known runners finish. And then Anouk Douaron from Moncton, local, 18:57 was third place for the women. So
wow, that's a crack at 19 minutes. That's actually quite fast.
Yeah, so while everyone else is rolling in, why don't we maybe mention the rest of our sponsors here? So another major sponsor is Irving Consumer Products, Royal brand. Irving Consumer Products is a leading manufacturer of premium quality tissue products, including national brands such as Royale and Scotties, as well as private label. We are proud to have the support of the Royal brand in support of this event, and as the presenting sponsor of the Open 5K, which is going on right now, that includes runners participating in the Canadian Masters 5K Championship, as we mentioned, and the Run MB Super Series, as well as just this 5K race in general. So as the company's motto says, there's a Royale for every room, ranging from bathroom tissue, facial tissue, paper towel, and napkins, and clearly not just for every room, but also for this celebration of active living and sport in Medavie Moncton Running Festival and the current 5K.
Just want to mention as well, we had Marc Baudouin and Patty Blanchard just crossing the finish line in about 24 minutes. So obviously strong honorable mention to Patty Blanchard, who just started back running after being diagnosed as well with
cancer. I can't
cancer.
remember what type.
I'm not sure what type it is, but yeah, so
Yeah.
at least very, very good to see her back running, and especially oh, look at that. Look at this sprinter here, all in green.
Wow.
All different age, all
Look at the form with the high
Yeah.
knees, the driving arms.
There you go.
You'll see a little bit more of that in our elite field. Some don't see so much in the open, but that guy had some perfect running form there.
Just wanted to mention, obviously, Patty, as obviously being inducted last night into, well, actually was inducted last year, but due to COVID, we weren't able to host a banquet, but we were able to obviously get her recipient plaque last night at the pasta dinner. But c'est bon aussi d'avoir comme commanditaire la brand Royal de Irving. Alors aussi, les produits de consommation Irving est le chef de file de la fabrication de produits de papier tissu de première qualité, y compris des marques nationales comme Royal et Scotties, ainsi que des marques privées. Nous sommes fiers de pouvoir compter sur le soutien de la marque Royal pour cet événement et tant que commanditaire principal du 5 km ouvert, qui regroupe les coureurs participant au championnat canadien des mètres 5 km à la Super Series de course New-Brunswick, ainsi que cette course de 5 km. Comme nous la devise dite de l'entreprise, il y a un Royal pour chaque pièce de chez vous. Il s'agisse de papier hygiénique, d'essuie-doux, de mouchoirs ou de serviettes de table et manifestement pas seulement pour chaque pièce, mais aussi pour cette célébration de la vie active et du sport dans le cadre de ce festival de course à pied Medavie Moncton et la prochaine course ouverte de 5 km.
The athletes still here rolling in. We're at 26 minutes, so they're just over the 5-minute K kind of threshold for 5 minutes for each kilometer. That would be 25. So 26, they're still below the 6-minute threshold. Like I say, the great part about running is you can always compete against yourself. You can always compete against your old times. There's always new barriers to break. So like I say, each one of those, the 20-minute barrier is a pretty significant barrier for some of the top-end athletes. 25 minutes is another barrier for some, and then perhaps 30 for some of these athletes finishing in, or maybe even the 5:30 pace, 27:30 that would be. They're all coming in under that. So always, that's a great part about the sport. That's Lily Coffin there in the orange actually finishing. We saw her father, Alex, earlier. Great to see the family, both sponsors with their shoe store. So great to see the family, I guess, all competing together in the same race. So our next sponsor we'd like to mention, you'll see later, they are the presenting sponsor of the men's elite field, which will be coming up after this, Lounsbury Group. So Lounsbury Group has proudly been serving New Brunswick for over 140 years and has become a staple in many communities around the province. The group owns and operates 5 General Motors dealerships, a BMW Mini dealership, a Volkswagen dealership, an Audi dealership, a Ford dealership, a pre-owned dealership, 2 heavy-duty truck dealerships representing Volvo and Mack, and 2 furniture retail stores. The organization employs over 500 employees throughout the province of New Brunswick. Through partnership sponsors and donations to youth groups, culture and arts, and healthcare, Lounsbury has always played a leadership role in the community. They are leaders in all areas of the community, chairing the local United Way, serving on the local hospital foundations, and being active in many youth organizations such as the Local A, and obviously providing our sponsorship for the men's elite field.
Alors ça, pour commanditaire, pour la course des élites chez les hommes, nous avons le groupe Lounsbury. Alors le groupe Lounsbury est fier de servir le Nouveau-Brunswick depuis plus de 140 ans et est devenu un élément incontournable dans les nombreuses collectivités de la province. Le groupe possède et exploite 5 concessionnaires General Motors, un concessionnaire BMW Mini, un concessionnaire Volkswagen, un concessionnaire Audi, un concessionnaire Ford, un concessionnaire de véhicules d'occasion, 2 concessionnaires de camions lourds représentés par Volvo et Mack, et 2 magasins de meubles. L'organisation emploie plus de 500 personnes ou employés à travers la province du Nouveau-Brunswick grâce à ses partenariats, les commandites et les dons à ces groupes de jeunes à la culture et aux arts ainsi qu'aux soins de santé. Lounsbury a toujours joué un rôle de premier plan de la communauté. Lounsbury est un chef-file dans tous les domaines de la communauté présentant l'organisme local Centraide, siégeant aux fondations de l'hôpital local et étant actif dans de nombreuses organisations de jeunes.
So as we said, we've got the runners all still rolling in. This camera shot is still just right in front of the finish line. They've still got a little slight couple I guess maybe 20, 30 meters past the camera, but you can see them all rolling into the finish there. If we're lucky, maybe we'll get a chance. I know down at the finish line, they were hoping to get some interviews with some of the notable people we mentioned earlier. If we're able to throw it to them for any interviews, we certainly do that. We'll try to keep showing the runners rolling in as well. But moving on, I guess, to our next sponsor we'd like to mention for the Women's Elite Field, which we'll see later today at 11:45, is IA Financial Group. So IA Financial Group is one of the largest insurance and wealth management groups in Canada with operations in the United States as well. Founded in 1892, it is an important Canadian public company and is listed on the Toronto Stock Exchange under the ticker symbol IAG. IA's mission is to ensure the financial well-being of our clients by offering them personal insurance coverage and investment solutions to help them achieve their personal goals.
Aussi, pour un autre commanditaire pour la course chez les élites femmes, nous avons le groupe financier IA. Alors, le groupe financier IA est l'un des plus grands groupes d'assurance et de gestion de patrimoine au Canada avec des activités aux États-Unis. Fondée en 1892, elle est une importante société publique canadienne et elle est cotée à la Bourse de Toronto sous le symbole IAG. La mission du groupe financier IA est d'assurer le bien-être financier de ses clients en leur offrant une couverture d'assurance personnelle et des solutions d'investissement pour les aider à atteindre leurs objectifs personnels. Merci grandement au groupe financier IA. Alors ça conclut la liste des commanditaires. This concludes the list of the primary sponsors for each and every race that we have on today's calendar. So obviously the runners coming by still as right now about 9:45. And we have actually, I think Nick was mentioning Vern.
Vern Christensen, as we mentioned, 81 years old, still out here. We're at 31 minutes and 20 seconds now. He's rolling in for this 5K. Very impressive, as we mentioned, the president of the Canadian Masters Athletics Association, and this is the championship. So we'll have to look at maybe through the start list to see, but I'm imagining he might be one of the only ones in the 80 age group. So I'm assuming probably a champion there in his division. Maybe I shouldn't assume, but it's like I say, it's very impressive to see an 81-year-old out here still competing, still having love for the sport, still enjoying a nice 5K in the morning. And I do feel, just a minute ago, I felt a nice slight breeze coming up. Not enough that it's going to bother the runners, but enough that, as you can see, they're working hard out there. When they cross the finish line, I think they're going to enjoy getting some cool refreshments, and the breeze might just feel a little bit like a little bit of a refreshment and help cool them down. So
actually, to give you some stats, Nick, for the oldest competitor, it's actually none other than Frank Kelly from St. John, 83 years old.
Frank Kelly, he is an impressive person as well. When I mentioned we hosted in St. John the indoor championships for Masters, and when we were there, he was not only competing but also helping volunteer a little bit, and he also helped with the youth sport. And at 83 years old, we had to tear up all the turf that was on the indoor field there so that the facility could be used for track. And is that him there?
Yes.
Coming in? That's him right now with the hat there and the blue shirt. And yeah, at 83 years old, he was there helping myself and some of the other university athlete volunteers, lifting up all this turf, tearing it all up. He stayed after the meet. I was incredibly impressed with him still just out there, not only competing, volunteering, helping out, just a super positive role model and just guy to have around. So it was good timing seeing him come in right as we mentioned that.
Yeah, exactly. That's we didn't obviously make that up, right? So, but in terms of en termes chez les femmes, on the women's side, nous avons Marie Jacob qui est l'athlète chez le côté féminin qui est le plus âgé avec alors the oldest female competitor, which is Marie Jacob. From the Dieppe area, and in terms of the age, I'll actually get those facts in. But Maddie's obviously very, very popular on the Run New Brunswick circuit. She managed or tries to do as much races as she possibly can, which I almost hear, like I remember when I was even younger. She's actually 79 years old. Alors Marie Jacob, quand même, très dévouée à la course. De pouvoir courir. Et on parle de Maryse, look, perfect timing as well. We see Maryse Jacob with the blue hat. Alors, Maryse Jacob avec le casque bleu.
Coming in under 35 minutes. So.
And she wanted to go for about 35 minutes, so she's still...
34:10 she's at right now, coming into that finishing shoot. So,
Nick, we didn't actually anticipate this, but that was actually perfect timing.
That worked out well. So why don't you tell them a little bit more. I know you used to. I think you maybe even won before the Super Series at Run NB. Why don't you give it? This is a Super Series event, so it counts for that. And I know there's a kind of a championship. Why don't you give it a little bit more explanation on how that works for the viewers?
So basically, Super Series is based out of points based on the certain category age. So it goes for 19 and below, and then I do believe for every 10 years, so between 20 and 29, 30 to 39, etc. And you get points throughout the year. There's only specific races that are known for Super Series, and then basically there's the championship race, which I think this is a New Brunswick championship, if I'm not mistaken. So typically on championship race, there's a championship race for the 5K, for the 5 miles, so 8K. There's for 10K, half marathon, and the full marathon. So championship races are actually double the points for those who are following the rankings, and at the end you actually get plaques.
So it recognizes kind of the top performers in road running through the year, and there's a whole series of events that count, and you can compete as many as you want, I believe, and they just keep accumulating points. So
for the ones that are Super Series specific, not
Yes,
all the
yes.
races on the calendar, but at the end of the year, then they collect obviously all the points, and based on the results, and they compile, and you can actually win. Like, there's actually a gala typically in November that basically recognize all the athletes from different age categories, for female and the male athletes as well.
So yeah, and you can find out more information about that on Run NB, which is runnb.ca, which is the website for the Run New Brunswick, which manages a lot of the road running in the province, and I believe are sponsors of the event today as well.
And as well, even for last year's event or edition was actually made virtually, obviously due to the COVID pandemic that was still in play last year, and it still is with us. But however, we do have the virtual side. Obviously, it was actually very technical. We actually have to have 2 watches. You had to have it recorded. But we actually saw that mostly on the men's and the women's side. There was only a few registry because obviously due to the technicality of getting the actual time for the price eligibility on the virtual side. But talked to a few elite athletes actually yesterday at the elite kind of gathering that we had, and they were actually looking forward to actually race, especially the ones that competed on the virtual side. Obviously on the actually, it's good to have them here in Moncton instead of being virtually on their hometown.
And we do have a few of the returning medalists and champions, I believe, from the virtual event last year. Are going to be back here to actually compete in person, and we'll highlight them a little bit more as we get into the kind of the pre-race for the elite event. But yeah, it's good to have everyone actually here in person, and not only for the elites but also for the open. You can see at the start, especially how large a field it was. There's quite a few runners. Obviously now as we're getting towards the finish, it's a little bit more spread out. It can get lonely if you're running on your own in the field, but luckily it seems like pretty much everyone here at least has someone in sight, so they're not running by themselves. We've got a couple finishes coming in here now, and although they're spread out, they can, like I said, you can always keep your eyes up and focus on that runner ahead and try to hang on and push through. So,
and it's good that it's on a closed course as well. So basically, there's no traffic or no cars that can be permitted on this road. So it's actually a closed course with obviously security guards and volunteers. And obviously, we'd like to thank obviously all the volunteers. Obviously, sponsorship is obviously keen for these type of magnitude events, but volunteers with any type of races would not be feasible if not would have been for all the volunteers. We truly thank all the volunteers that was part of this event to make this happen. So we thank you for that.
A lot of work goes into planning. A lot of work goes into setup on the day of, morning, bright and early. A lot will also go into the cleanup after and the award ceremonies and all that. So definitely, without the volunteers, this wouldn't be happening. So we're thankful for all of their efforts.
And I think going down the run list, I think there was about probably 130 or 140 registered, most likely at around the open 5K. So it's still quite a big field, as we're about 30 minutes in. So we should
we're almost to the 40-minute mark. So that would be 8-minute Ks for the pace. Like I said, there's always a barrier to chase for, no matter what speed you're running at. And then especially in master sports, it's great, and a lot I know running with a lot of the masters I know from experience, they love it when they get a year older and they move from the 50 to 55 age group. Now they're the 55 to 60. All of a sudden there's it resets. They've got all new barriers. As you get older, you maybe can't compete with the times you used to do when you were younger, but you can still kind of keep that same age group threshold when there's new records to chase and there's new competitors to go against, and it gives you kind of a refresh to reset and chase some new personal bests in your new age category. So
yeah, and it's good as well. So basically, like you were saying, if you, let's say you're at the 50-54 and you're actually going to the 55 to 59, yes, you're obviously going up in age. Obviously, age is only a certain, obviously a number, but in terms of actually fitness, you'll actually be coming in as a stronger athlete in the 55
yeah,
to the 59. Typically, that's how it proceeds. So it's like you said, it's kind of give yourself like a reset for every like 4 or 5 years, and you get that kind of barrier that you can focus on if you have not so much of a good year or couple of years.
you can see a lot of the athletes here too acknowledging the supporters. I think they appreciate all the people cheering along the course. I don't know if you can pick any of that up on the live stream, but there are some definitely some vocal supporters here, and we've seen a couple nods or waves to the supporters from the people running. So I think everyone here appreciates the turnout, and I'm sure for the elite field, a lot of the open runners will probably stick around maybe and watch. So we should have even larger crowds, and that'll be definitely an exciting atmosphere once we get some people lined up and down the course, especially coming into the finish. So
it was actually good this morning, Nick, when we were basically doing that little 5K simulation there, seeing some even elite athletes as early at like 7 o'clock when we did that course, just trying out the course, some shakeouts. Some people will just trying to feel the course and kind of study the course beforehand before the actual race, so they know what type of race tactics that they want to get in play.
yeah, exactly. So we did a little test run of the course to make sure we had everything set up properly. Me, Jeremy, and Steven Anderson, who we're going to have on later during our pre-show for a little interview. He's the elite field coordinator. So the three of us did a little test run with the race car, practicing for the live stream, making sure everything was set up. And yeah, they were ready to go. They didn't probably really need us in the end. I think they had a pretty good handle on it, but we just wanted to feel important, so we stuck ourselves in there.
And I think I'll get I think you'll probably get the fastest Strava segment there.
So, yeah, although I know the field today, certainly in this open event already, was much faster than we were going this morning. So
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, about 2 minutes faster than we were running. So
Antonin Gigard, évidemment, le meilleur de la course avec un temps de 16 minutes 16 secondes. Antonin Gigard with the overall winner in the men's open 5K in a time of 16 minutes and 16 seconds, was obviously shooting to be about the 15:30 mark. But now, as I can see here, kind of like not sure if it's a Cinderella story type of.
We've got a couple runners wearing little, I guess you could call them tutus. Well, there's one runner finishing with her tutu, and must be her teammate who's already finished, has her medal, and is kind of jogging off to the side of the road beside her, cheering her on. Now she's stepped to the side as she finishes, but good to see the support. And I'm not sure what the tutus there are about, but must be some sort of team outfit that they plan for this event.
And that's one thing as well. There's obviously personal goals, there's barriers, there's different causes, people running obviously for different charities, and some people are just putting this as a fun event, like seeing those tutus. And sometimes we'll have different or track clubs as well that can be competing, like we see the St. John Track Club with Dean Strobridge and Justin Young and Alex Coffin, some even club representation as well.
The Halifax Roadhammers is another extremely large club. I saw a few people with singlets in there at some points in the races coming through, so there's quite a big representation from Halifax here today as well. It's great to see all the maritime communities kind of supporting a fellow maritime event. Yeah, it's a great opportunity for the city of Moncton to host. And I guess actually, we should mention the other sponsors of this event as well. Not title sponsors, but also very important in terms of putting this on. Let's see if we can find that list here. I know the city of Moncton was one, so that's what reminded me. We got the city of Moncton, the province of New Brunswick, Ashford Living, Arc Clean Energy, Benchmark Investing Consulting, Canadian Tire, Alex and Lily's Shoes and Swimwear. That was what I mentioned. We saw Alex and Lily finish there earlier on the live stream. They both competed today. Athletics Canada, Greater Moncton Running Club. Sorry, hard to make out there. Athletics New Brunswick, Run NB, the Canadian Masters Athletics Association, National Bank, Olivier, Doyle Corporate Image, Maximum Signs, and Marketing Communications. So thank you to all those sponsors as well. We couldn't have put on the event today with all the great signage and great all the setup and the closed down, closed course, all of that probably I'm sure couldn't have happened without the support of our sponsors. So we're very thankful for them.
Nous voulons aussi remercier les commanditaires. Comme que Nick a mentionné, il y a toujours des babillards, des affiches aussi très près de la ligne d'arrivée. Alors, sans ces commanditaires, cette course ne serait pas possible. Alors, je vais faire quelques mentions. Évidemment, nous avons mentionné les candidats ou les commanditaires clés. Mais aussi, voulons mentionner aussi la province du Nouveau-Brunswick aussi, la ville de Moncton, Ashford Living, Art Clean Energy, Benchmark Investment Consulting, Canadian Tire, Alex et Lily's Shoes and Swimwear. C'est alors ces deux concurrents que nous avons courir à tantôt avec Athletics Canada, le groupe de courseurs, alors Greater Moncton Running Club. Alors nous avons Athletics New Brunswick, nous avons Course NB, nous avons les vétérans canadiens en athlétisme, l'association, la Banque nationale, nous avons la Savonnerie Olivier aussi, Doyle Corporate Image, nous avons les enseignes Maximum et alors le dernier Marketing Communication qui somme la liste des partenaires clés pour cet événement. Ici au championnat canadien 5 km.
So we mentioned too, because it is the Masters National Championship, we had a lot of representation all the way through the age groups. We also had some very young competitors out here competing today. I just took a quick look through the start list. We had a couple of 13-year-olds who were the youngest to compete in this field. We had Harley Stewart,
Blizzard.
Oh, yeah. Harley Stewart Blizzard, 13 years old of Moncton. Great to see her out. And then there was another 13-year-old here.
There's 15 right here from Rothsay.
Yeah, a 15-year-old from Rothsay, Anna Titus. We had another 14-year-old from Blizzard, from Moncton, Sean Blizzard.
I think they're brothers or sisters, both Blizzard. So.
And then Oker Christensen of Moncton, 13 years old, another young competitor. So, like we said, 13 all the way up to what was it, 83?
83.
Kelly? Yeah.
Yep.
So a 70-year age span. Pretty impressive and great to see everyone coming out, especially from the local communities all the way from St. John, our oldest competitor, and Moncton here, our youngest ones. So great to see the maritime talent and at all ages.
So as well, in terms of the race, obviously we still have the race underway. Typically, we might see even some people actually walking the course. Typically, it should finish about in the hours and about another 14 minutes or so that we should sum up probably the race, unless all the competitors actually cross the finish line as they come. But we will actually have the 1 kilometer, so the kids run, that will be at around what time there, Nick? It's about.
I believe it is 10:30. 10. Apologies for that.
Right here. So yeah, so 10:30 is going to be the kids race that we won't be broadcasting, however, but it's going to be good for local support and obviously
do you remember they mentioned last night how many kids they had registered? I can't remember what the number was. It was pretty impressive. It was a couple hundred or something registered for this kids 1 kilometer. So I know some of my first.
You actually could see some of them actually right now near the start area, so they're probably pretty pumped going to the washroom and kind of jumping around and obviously being playful. As you can see, a lot of kids actually just right behind us and besides us at those little boot tents area, just sitting on the obviously near the start finish line area. So it's got to be nice to see them running about 1K. So 1K may seem a lot for them, but actually gives them an opportunity to run on the same exact course as the professional / elite athletes.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, when I got started into running myself at the young age of maybe 10 or 11, I think one of my first races was a kids 1K at a local road race, the Hampton 5 Mile. Some of our local listeners might be familiar with that one, and I don't know if they still have the kids 1K, but I participated in that when my dad was doing the 5 miler, and I got hooked into the sport of running pretty early. Continued on, had 15 years of pretty competitive running, ran for university, and really enjoyed it. So it's great to see all these kids coming out. Maybe some of them will be future stars and competing in elite fields in the future. You never know what at that age there's so much potential and so much opportunity, and even if they're not competing in the elite end, it's great to stay active and be healthy for life and live a good healthy lifestyle. So it's good to see the parents getting their kids involved early and a nice little opportunity for them to compete, have some fun, get some medals. and and enjoy the event.
Yeah, for sure. And in terms of a 5K, Nick, did you actually have like a personal best in 5K, or do you have something?
So I was more of a mid-distance runner, running on the track, doing 800s, 1500s. So I technically do not have an official 5K PB. I have run races longer than 5K, so I have a 5K splits from races. But that's because in university sport, the cross-country races are so not quite the same as the road, a little bit slower. They're typically on either gravel, grass, dirt, kind of a little bit tougher terrain to run on. And it's typically 8 or 10 kilometers. So I've run those types of races, but actually never have an official 5K. How about you, Jeremy? I know you've run tons of 5Ks on the road and on the track, and
Yeah, no, for sure. For me, I've been actually on a couple of 5Ks. Actually, there was one back, I do believe, in 2018, if I'm correct. Actually, the course is a bit different. It was actually part of the Legs for Literacy, which is actually going to be in October at some point. But the course was actually start off actually not so far from us, actually starting right behind the new Avenir Center, which is called Canada Lane, I do believe. Starting there, and we're actually going all the way down Main Street, then take a left-hand turn on Assumptions. So we actually did run on this course here, but on the obviously different circuit. It was actually 2 laps of 2.5K. That was actually with the Geneviève Lalonde actually beat me on that race on that occasion. So Geneviève, obviously very well known, being on a couple of Olympic teams and World Championship as well. So
local from Moncton, for those who maybe are not familiar with her. And 3,000-meter steeplechase on the track. So if you're not familiar with steeplechase, it's kind of like the hurdles. It's very large barriers, 4 of them around the track, and it actually includes a water pit you have to jump over. And she's the Canadian record holder, and 2-time Olympian in that event for Canada.
I see.
I believe I can't remember her last name. Diane, another Masters athlete, must be up there in terms of one of our oldest competitors. She competed in the indoor championships as well. Ran really well. I think. Let me find her here. Yeah.
Now we're about at 51:30 right now in terms of time. So
yeah, coming in with a pretty impressive time once again for the age. The last of the Masters we're hearing to finish here in this event. So that's great to see. Lots of people cheering, sticking around for the finish, and supporting our final runners coming in. Oh, a couple more runners on the course, but our final Masters runner, I guess, is what we're hearing here now. So still a couple more to come. We'll continue to show the finishing shoot here as people roll in.
Yeah, but in terms of 5K roads, obviously that was obviously held here, but my fastest 5K was actually done at the Défi du Printemps pour les écouteurs du Québec, alors qui est typiquement disputé sur le campus de l'Université de Laval sur un parcours extrêmement plat avec 2 tours. So my personal best is actually on the roads, was actually done in Quebec on a very flat course on Défi du Printemps, which typically is held in April. And personal best about 15:12 on the road. So I was actually probably one of my fittest time back when I was younger, about 10 years ago. Feels like a decade, obviously, but it doesn't feel as long as it may sound. So
Yeah.
But
so I just found the information there. That was our last finisher, 79 years old, Diana Arms, out of Quispam-Sis, New Brunswick. So that's
wow.
actually where I grew up, in Quispam-Sis, just outside of St. John. And she's been a staple in the Masters competitions here in New Brunswick as of late, doing events on the track, some short sprints, doing the 5K here today. So she's been all over. Great to see her competing and finishing and getting support from the local spectators. So a couple more people should be coming in here. Just, I guess, to refresh on what the schedule for the rest of the day looks like. We will be taking a break here at some point soon, stepping aside, and we'll come back around 10:30 around 10:45 to do a little bit of a pre-race show, break down some of the info on the elite fields and what you can expect this afternoon. And then the elite men will be kicking off at 11:15, followed by the elite women at 11:45. So that's what our schedule is kind of looking like here for the rest of the day. But for now, we'll keep our eyes out. We're hearing there's still a couple more runners out there. We'll see what if they can roll in. We're hitting 54 minutes, so we'll see if they can break the hour barrier. I'm sure for a lot of athletes that would be a significant barrier as well. So I mean, you can imagine anytime there's a significant threshold like that, like an hour or 20 minutes, it always becomes a barrier that runners talk about. That, you know, I'm sure everyone's aware of the 4-minute mile was a big barrier for a long time. It's the same thing in basically any event. You can find those barriers that become infamous in running in terms of accomplishments.
And even for the mile, even the Roger Bannister, they were saying back in it, I think it was in the 1950s, they were saying that it was not humanly possible to break down. And now I think, if I'm not mistaken, we're probably at about like 150 or 170.
More than that, I think. Yeah, I think it's in the 200s now. Yeah.
200s. Okay, yeah, obviously your stats are more up to date. But yeah, I know we were getting in the hundreds for sure that have broken that 4-minute mile. And actually, we do have a couple runners actually here in our elites field that actually did time equivalent, including even Justin Kent as well, that had a pretty wide range even now as a marathoner now, but he ran a 3:41 1,500 meters, which would probably equivalent to like a 3:57, 3:58, sub 4-minute mile. So that's to tell you how much range and depth that we have in our men's field, and obviously on the women's side as well, we do have some very fast athlete as well. So it's going to be looking forward to see these races coming through as they'll be coming along later on in our schedule. That we have just to give you a breakdown, 11:15 will be the start of the men's elite, and we do have a half an hour after that, so 11:45 we do have the women's elite field, followed by the award ceremony and stuff like that following the race.
So for anyone who may be here in person watching the live stream, just to see if they can pick up anyone further away on the course, or who may be planning to maybe they're in the city and are planning to come down for the elite events, there's also going to be post-race celebrations around 12:30 to 2:30. I believe they'll be giving out awards for all of the Masters championships, the elite races, and then I think people will be having some snacks, some food, a little recovery after all the races. So maybe a chance if you want to meet some of the elite athletes, then maybe they'll be kicking around. We met, Jeremy and I met most of them. Some of them we knew personally before, others maybe meeting for the first times, but all super friendly, super easy to talk to. So certainly if you see an elite runner once they're done their race, maybe give them a couple minutes to catch their breath. But if you see them a little bit later, I'm sure if you approach them and want to have a conversation, they'd be happy to talk. And it's a great community in running, great community spirit. Everyone's very friendly and easy to approach and talk to.
And then for those who want to actually listen to some interviews that I actually did, like 2-3 minute interviews with some of the featured athletes in their elite field, including the women's and the men's, if you want to go on the Medavie Moncton Running Festival Instagram page, and you'll see all the different kind of questions that I was asking, like in terms of pre-race routine, what type of shoes they'll be wearing, what are their short-term goals, long-term goals. Kind of give a little big background of some of the runners. You can go on Medavie Moncton Running Festival on Instagram and see basically on their story all the interviews that I've done with those athletes. So it was actually very interesting to see different backgrounds. Some people are obviously taking breaks, and people are actually even Lucas Brochet as well, actually coming from Europe, back from his honeymoon. And
he just got married and had a honeymoon, right? Yeah.
So there you go. So a lot of things, even Mike Tate as well, just kind of taking a break from running, doing a lot of biking even, but still wants to prove fitness as well today. So
it's because of the timing, a lot of the elite field who compete, say, in the track and field season, that typically ends towards the late summer. So some of them have extended their season on and are just kind of trying to maintain their peak all the way through to here, and then we'll be taking a break after this race. Some of the others maybe didn't have as long of a track season, or maybe they're not as focused on the track, and they've kind of took a break earlier in the summer, and then I've been building back up to get ready for this. So it's an interesting time seeing, like you say, seeing where some of the different athletes are in terms of their schedule and in terms of what's next. John Gay joked yesterday he's had a very long season. He hasn't had a real proper break since last year when he did the virtual version of this event. He said he's been on kind of a steady grind and build all the way up until now. He said he might not even bother cooling down. He might just have to be scraped off the course once he crosses the line. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see what he looks like when he's coming to the finish. We'll keep an eye out for that. Make sure he's able to stay on his feet, hopefully.
Yeah, because even John Gay and obviously Ben Flanagan, probably the race favorites, and Lucas Brochet as well. Obviously looking for a very fast time today. Canadian record, put that in perspective, is 13:35. A été détenu par Charles Philibert Tipeto cette année au 5 km à Boston. So just before the Boston Marathon, around that weekend, there's a 5K for the elites, and Charles Philibert Thibodeau actually came victorious in that race in 13:35. So he has the Canadian record this year. So we'll see if that is in the mix or not, based on the obviously on the condition. Obviously, condition is perfect right now. It's obviously getting warm. Obviously, temperature is supposed to be like 26 or 27 degrees later on this afternoon, but hopefully at around 21 degrees centigrade. In terms of the weather during the race, looking forward to see how they'll be running. But just to give you guys viewers perspective, the elite men's will probably be running at about 23 kilometers an hour. I know it doesn't sound as fast as it may seem because obviously we're driving a lot, but even biking, go on a road bike and trying to pedal 23 kilometers an hour, it's still not an easy feat.
If you have any of those electric signs that show your speed when you're running on the road, for cars, or for traffic, say in a school zone or something like that, to slow down, go try sprinting at a sign and see if you can get it up to 23. It's pretty quick. I'll be impressed if people can even hit that for more than just a few hundred meters. Like we mentioned, we did do a little test of the course with the race car and everything, and we were just jogging it for parts and then kind of practicing the corners at full speed to see how sharp they were going to be, see how the car would have to adjust for the timing and all that of the live stream. And yeah, we were able to do a few hundred meters maybe at that pace, but it's quick. So we're looking forward to seeing that. That's on the men's side, of course. The women's field, what would be the fastest seed there? I believe
14:57 actually.
So we mentioned the 15-minute barrier is a significant barrier. So for the females there, it's even more significant. It's a truly elite time to run there. And so that's, what would that be? That would be
about a 3 minute per kilometer pace. So
20
actually,
kilometers an hour.
it's kind of funny actually because my personal best on the track, and actually Julianne Staley as well, did that on the track as well a couple of days before qualifying. I do believe either for Eugene or for Tokyo in the 5K, and she has the exact same PB as I do. So that's just to say how the caliber of the field in terms of the women's side. So Julianne. Is obviously a very high caliber athlete representing by New Balance there. So
yeah. So, and when we say 23 kilometers an hour versus 20 kilometers an hour for the field, the open field as well, 3 kilometers an hour doesn't sound that much, but when you're redlining, as they say, kind of pushing it to the limit, and you have to all of a sudden try to pick it up that little bit, it's a big difference. And you can see it with the runners here too. It spreads out pretty quickly in that elite, in that open field where you have some of them going up at that 20 kilometer an hour pace for the start. And then others maybe back around 10 kilometers an hour. You can see a huge spread there. It's a big difference, and it's pretty impressive to see those elite runners, or even some of the sub elites here, but elite for their open field, in there competing.
okay, so Nick, we'll actually take a little break here from our viewers. So thanks so much for tuning in. We'll actually be back probably in about 10-15 minutes there. So we'll be playing a little commercial break here. So thanks so much for everyone tuning in. My name is Jeremy, and this is Nick McMacken. We'll see you guys in a bit.
Yep. See you soon, guys. All right, welcome back, everybody, or welcome if you're just tuning in now for the live stream for the Medavie 5K Canadian National Championships. We got the elite fields coming up here shortly for both the men and then the women. My name's Nick McMackin. I'm a former competitive runner, graduated from the University of Windsor from St. John, New Brunswick, and I'm going to be one of the commentators providing our live commentary and a little bit of pre-race information here now.
Et aussi, je suis joint avec, mon nom c'est Jérémy Pellerin, je suis gradué de l'Université de Moncton quand même avec un temps personnel de 14,57. Alors, savoir c'est quoi les attentes en termes d'expectation aussi, comment c'est chauffé et aussi un peu le déroulement de la course aussi. Alors aussi, c'est quand même important de mentionner que la course des athlètes élites chez les hommes va commencer à 11h15. Local start time for the men's side is going to be at 11:15 Atlantic time. For those for you on the East Coast, you can take 4 hours out of that, and from people from the Toronto area, take about an hour off of that. So we'll be looking to the women's side after that at 11:45. So thanks so much for tuning in. Merci beaucoup de nous joindre sur nos ondes ici.
So to start off, I guess we'll give you a breakdown here of the course in beautiful Moncton, New Brunswick. So if for those who already saw the open race, you might have already got a sense of what the course looks like. But if you're just tuning in now, we have the start and finish line. The camera that's showing now is right from the finish line view. What we're going to see as the athletes are finishing. The start is just to the right of that on the other side of the median. And basically, it's a two-loop course. If you can see, we don't have it on the live stream, I don't think, but if you go on the website for this event, you can see a map of the course. And essentially, they run all the way down this road to the very end where they hit the next intersection. And when they get there, that's called Turn A. That is, what's the street there, Jeremy?
That's Von Harvey Boulevard. So that's the corner of Assumption and Von Harvey. So obviously Assumption Boulevard is actually closed for traffic, but Von Harvey is open for traffic. So that's where the Turn A, which is the farthest extreme portion of the course, will be that.
It's about 1,500 meters into the race, 1.5 out of 5 kilometers. So they make that turn. They'll come down almost all the way back to the start. A few hundred meters before that, they make Turn B, where they turn around again. That's, I guess, just before the 3 kilometer mark, maybe about 2.7K around there. And then they're going to go through from that all the way back down, almost back to where Turn A was, not quite, just before it, make another turn. And at that point, it is just over a kilometer to the finish, straight through to the chute that where we can see now in the cameras, the kind of the finishing area. And you can see the large Run NB Athletics New Brunswick gantry, they call it, over the road. That's where the start's going to be. And then just on this side that the live stream showing, this is the finish kind of area where everyone will finish up.
And as well as you can see there on the stream where the porta potties are, that's where the elites has a designated area for porta potty snacks and leaving all their personal items, as well as terms of running shoes, warm up gear, I should say, and then kind of their racing gear that they have time to change into a proper running uniform. Obviously, some athletes are actually sponsored, so looking to put those on to be well represented. So actually, we see a couple of runners actually on the course right now. Actually doing kind of their last couple stretch and drills and stuff, kind of feel out the course. Some even got actually a kind of a shakeout run that we would call that in running terms. Basically just really loosen it out once you actually get up, get your coffee. Some of them actually have different kind of ways of getting prepared, kind of pre-race, just before they actually get the gun going.
So obviously we're super happy to be here hosting this here in person. Last year the event was supposed to be held here, but due to the pandemic, which I'm sure you're used to hearing that kind of phrasing, due to the pandemic it had to be held virtually. So we had a virtual event where people could submit their times. They needed to have 2 GPS watches on it, recording the official time to prove that they had run the full 5K in order to be eligible for the prize money. But we're happy this year to be doing it in person. And really a big thank you to our sponsors for allowing us to be able to do this and for helping support such an elite field that we have today. So we just want to recognize our sponsors here quickly. We have Medavie, Royale from Irving, the province of New Brunswick, Lounsbury Company Limited, IA Financial Group, the City of Moncton, Ashford Living, Art Clean Energy, Benchmark Investing Consulting, Canadian Tire, Alex and Lily's Shoe and Swimwear, Athletics Canada, Greater Moncton Running Club, Athletics New Brunswick, Run NB, Canadian Masters Athletics Association, National Bank, Olivier, Doyle Corporate Image, Maximum Signs, and Marketing Communications. So once again, thank you to all of our sponsors. We've got a stacked field here for both the men's and the women's elite races. We can see some of the runners actually, going by now. For the men's race, which is coming up here shortly, some of our favorites there. And it's going to be very exciting to have this finally in person in Moncton.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously the last time that we actually had some sort of major, well, we do have actually the Canadian Masters Indoor that was held in St. John back in March. That was obviously in terms of the Masters side. But in terms of Open, the last time there was a very big event was actually at the 2014 Canadian Outdoor Track and Field Championship that was held at the stadium, the Medavie stadium that's behind the steps of the University of Moncton. So it's been a while that we haven't got a big event of such of a caliber, but certainly looking forward to see the more in-person event rather than the virtual event that we had held last year.
So we're going to do a quick breakdown of our elite men's field before they get started here. But right now we've got Stephen Anderson here with us, who is the coordinator for the elite field, and he's going to, I guess, give us a few comments about what he's looking forward to most in these upcoming elite races. So what do you think? What's the highlight for you coming up maybe in the men's race that you're going to be watching out for?
Hey guys, I think definitely Flanagan and Gay going after the Canadian record. It's got to be the highlight. I think we have a great local field as well. We've tried to blend, bring in a lot of the top athletes from around the country, but we've also, and I'm sure you've mentioned some of these guys, but we've also tried to balance it out so that we have a great local field and really represent Atlantic Canadian running. So, for example, Lee Wazelius or Mike Tate, they're like those guys I'm looking forward to see how they go, and I hope they can get into our top 5.
So I'm hearing that they're going to be going out very fast after that Canadian record pace. Can you give us some perspective maybe on what is that record? What's the top seeds for some of the guys? How what should we be expecting like in terms of splits that will be key indicators to watch out for during the race?
So they're going to the current Canadian men's record is 13:35, run by CPT or Charles Philibert Thibodeau in Boston at the Boston 5K, which happens before the Boston Marathon every year. And he won that race actually, and just beating Jordy Beamish, who runs for On in the States. And so these guys certainly have the ability to go after that. Like they have about the similar 5K times on the track as CPT. Like Luc Boucher and him are within a second on the track. I don't know if Luke's going to go after the record today, but John Gay has run 13:29 on the track and is in very, very good shape. He's coming off 4th place at the Commonwealth Games in the steeplechase. And then obviously we have Ben Flanagan, who just broke the Canadian 10K record.
Which was held actually by an Atlantic Canadian previously.
Yeah. There you go. Paul McCloy, right?
Paul McCloy from Newfoundland. And it stood for, I believe, 35 years. And Ben just broke that earlier this year, as mentioned in the 10K.
And he broke that in Boston too. So
yeah,
right now all the 10K record, the distance records are in Boston. So we got to get one back on Canadian soil, and that'd be great.
Yeah, we'll see if Ben can Ben and John and Luke and the rest of the field that we'll highlight here shortly. We'll see if they can all get out after that. We'll be watching. We're hopefully going to have some live 1K splits. I know that the target was through 3K. Was it 8:05 to 8:10?
8:06 was their goal.
8:06 was the target that they were looking to be on for 3K. So
2:42 a kilometer.
For those who are familiar with running splits, 8:06 would be a very fast 3K, and we are doing this. Well, not us, but they are doing this through 3K of their 5K. So it's going to be exciting to watch. What about on the women's side? What's the highlight for you there? What are you most watching out for?
I don't know what our times are going to be on the women's side because I don't know if we have somebody who is interested in taking the pace out hard on the men's side. The women's side, nobody's really indicated that. Unfortunately, we've had a few scratches on the women's side, so our field is not as large and as deep as we were necessarily hoping for, but we still have a great field. So Julianne Stalley, Sasha Golish, Regan Yee, Aaron Teschuk, these athletes are, and Cleo Boyd, these athletes are really, really
so maybe a bit more of a strategic race.
I think
racing
so.
For the prize money.
I think so. I think if we're in the 15 if we're in the 1530 range, 1540 range for the women, I think that's probably inaccurate. Like I don't think the Canadian record, which is 1516 by Emily Mondor, is in any threat today. Um, but there is a Canadian record bonus on the line here, $500 for the men and the women. So perhaps that's some incentive to go after it.
And in terms of the
Mhm.
actual course, obviously we
Yeah.
all ran it this morning. Your perspective on the course with the tight curve, do you think that it kind of putting the keen of changing
Yeah.
the pace and kind of putting a little bit of drama in the race in the sense? Or
I think the tight corners, I was chatting with a bunch of the athletes just before I came over here, and they're all going to practice on the corners and do some strides around them. So I think that will help. But yeah, it's certainly going to be a factor, and that's why I just don't think like the women's field in particular is super strong, but I don't think they're going to necessarily, they don't have the goal to go after it. And I think the corners will come into play more there, whereas the guys plan to really give her Earl on from the gun. The women's will certainly be a tactical race and could actually be a more intriguing race because there should be a bigger pack together for longer.
yeah, as you can see, we're actually shooting the start and finish line. So the start is actually the Run New Brunswick gantry, and on the right hand side, the Fundy crest there at the top is the finish line. So it kind of differentiate between both. And we do actually have all the sponsors that you can see billboards just alongside the course there. But Stephen, thanks so much for your input,
thanks,
and
guys.
appreciate it for
I'm
the.
really excited. I hope everyone stays around for both the races. It should be really great.
Yeah, so thanks so much for that, Stephen Anderson, the race director in terms of the elite kind of recruiting, getting basically one of the strongest, probably 5K road field that was probably ever assembled in terms of depth and quality. So that's great for him to do that. So getting the fastest runner here in Moncton, and hopefully we can be able to actually have some sort of a championship being held in Moncton to keep kind of keep the pride in the Moncton area.
So in a couple minutes here, we're going to be throwing over to the finish line for a live interview with Mark Lalonde and I believe the mayor of Moncton. We're going to keep our eyes out for that. You can, I don't know, if you know Mark, maybe you can pick him out there in the crowd in the shot we have now. But at some point, we'll be thrown over there here shortly. Maybe just before we get to that, we can break down what the prize money is for the elite fields. So there is quite a bit of money up for grabs, all the way from first down to seventh. So not only the winners in the top three, but all of the finishing places in those top seven are going to be fought for tooth and nail, because it's an extra little bonus if you're one spot higher. So we've got first place. Well, why don't we go in reverse order? So seventh place starts off with even in that position, $300, so a pretty good prize. Moving up to sixth, $400, fifth, $600, fourth, $900, and then the top three, third place gets $1,500, second, $2,000, and then first place $2,500. So quite a bit of prize money. And as Stephen mentioned, an extra bonus if the Canadian record is broken in either race. There's an extra $500 on the line. So a little incentive to maybe take it out fast for some of the athletes if they think they're in that type of shape.
I know with some interviews that I did yesterday, I was talking with Mike Tate, and he was like, if I can actually get that $300, he said that would actually be some good money in the bag. So some people are actually just trying to shoot for that kind of top 7 position just to get a little price purse.
Yeah, so you definitely might see, like Steven mentioned, is what he's expecting in the women's race, maybe a little more tactics, and then the men's, where they've indicated they want to go for the record. But even in the men's, a little further back in the field, if there's some people who don't think they're quite in record shape, but are here with the intention of trying to compete, they might sit back and watch and see if those leaders start to maybe tie up and get a little bit tired and try to kick them down, or maybe they'll just be racing tactically for some prize money. So, like we say, there's going to be races within the race. And I'm sure if those people out front going for the record do start to falter, there's going to be a lot of people in behind who are going to be licking their chops, ready to kick them down. So
yeah, even in looking at the men's side, like we're looking even at the top 8 that are all under 14 minutes. So I think what's going to probably happen is going to have probably the lead pack going after the Canadian record. And then there'll be actually a chase pack, probably just at around the 14-minute, as we're talking about barriers earlier in the open race. Like 14-minute is obviously like a big barrier in terms of the 5K. And definitely if that you're coming in about the top 7 right there. So obviously a lot of jostling that could happen in the latter stage of the race, as the race maybe some feel tired, and obviously going after it. Obviously it's a Canadian Championship, you just kind of put it on the line here. So
while we wait for that live interview, I guess maybe once we have Mark and the mayor there pulled up, we can switch over to them. But while we wait, maybe we'll start running through the elite men's field and kind of give you a taste of what's to come. Maybe we can start from seating in kind of reverse order. So do you want to kick us off there, Jeremy?
Yeah, for sure. So we're going to start with obviously the local athletes, as Stephen was mentioning, kind of getting a local support. Obviously, as is Moncton known. So we're starting with Isaac McLean. He's actually 17. He's the youngest elite athlete, but now we're going to shoot that to Mark Lalonde. He's obviously doing the kind of the in-person commentating for the race. So he's actually there with the mayor. So we'll let Mark with the interview with the mayor of Moncton, Don Arnold.
So we'll have the pleasure of doing that. All right, we are now going live right here from the finish line of the Medavie Moncton Running Festival, and in particular this today of the Canadian 5K Championships. Mayor Don Arnold, welcome. Thank you for your presence. Come on, the shows. How do you see things in the city of Moncton role? Because City of Moncton, well known across the country for its sporting event, active living. Please.
Well, thank you, Mark, and thanks to all of the sponsors and volunteers that make this possible. This is the City of Moncton. This is what we do best. We welcome the world here, and our city is growing leaps and bounds right now. Incredible development and people relocating to our community from across the country and around the world. And events like this are a fantastic part of our community, and it's so great to welcome everyone back after 2 long years.
And 2 long years, it certainly has been. I certainly want to commend the city staff, because they've been in the organization of this. They've been absolutely fantastic. We thought closing a street boulevard is easy. No problem. No, sir. It is very complicated, and they have been absolutely fantastic. So certainly kudos to the staff, because organizations like this can only happen if you really do have that full on. Great to know that the city is growing, absolutely. So what about active living in Moncton? Could you tell us a little bit about that, and how that the city kind of thinks in those terms now and in the future?
Well, absolutely. As a cyclist, I cycle 6 months of the year on our beautiful trails that are connecting our city more and more all the time. Active living, being able to be out. It's so great to see so many kids involved here today, getting people started young to think about what it means to have an active lifestyle. And we are very committed to that in the city of Moncton.
And very shortly we'll have the elites taking to the course. They come from all over the country. They're really excited. First of all, being here, I think they've enjoyed the venue and the welcome. They're particularly keen on this course. It's now certified and actually international course. And there are runners here who are not just looking to prevail, but they're also looking to do a Canadian record. So maybe a few words for these gentlemen to encourage them first, the gentlemen, the ladies to follow, to encourage them in their pursuit.
Well, I would say that the conditions could not be better on this track today, and really hoping everyone does their very best. It'd be really terrific to set a new national record here in Moncton today. That would be awesome.
It sure would, because now we have a internationally certified, good for 4 years, by the way, and so maybe make us think a little bit about something else. I don't know, thank you. Now the moment, really what everybody is waiting for is the recipient of the kayak donated by Canadian Tire, and if you would do the honor.
The winner of the 2022 Medavie Moncton Running Festival Kayak, presented by the Moncton Canadian Tire Store on Mountain Road, le gagnant d'un tout nouveau kayak offert par le magazine Canadian Tire Moncton au chemin Martin-Est, c'est Scott Crossan of Riverview. He did the Open 5K, and its number is 141.
Thank you. Scott Crossan, you can take your kayak and just kayak right across the Petticoat. Doesn't have to take the bridge home. No, says Gabriel. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for being with us. Mayor Donaldo, thank you very much. So on now to the show. Got a little less than 10 minutes to go. Back to Nick and Jamie on the live stream, and here we stay with us. Thank you. Merci.
All right, thanks for that. And we'll get back to, we're going to highlight really quickly all of the elite men that are going to be competing here today. So Jeremy just mentioned Isaac McLean, a local Moncton athlete. Our next athlete on the start list is Aaron Manning, originally from Toronto, but moved to Halifax recently. A 2:24 marathoner, 31-minute 10K PB, and now he's going to be trying out the 5K. Next is Michael Bergeron from Stanley Bridge PEI. He's actually the world record holder in joggling, which is running while juggling. So 10K on the track in 34 minutes while juggling.
Le prochain, nous avons Paul Gallon aussi, un coureur local de Dieppe, connu sous l'incident en 2018 pour s'avoir fait attaquer par un caribou. Alors, Paul, que je m'entraîne avec quand même sur tendance régulière. Et aussi, nous avons de Saint-Léonard, Mohamed Agab, seulement âgé de 28 ans, a couru 1h05 sur son demi-marathon quelques semaines passées à Saint-François.
So next is Evan Arsenault of St. John, New Brunswick, where I'm from. Evan has a 15:34 PB, which he ran at the Run for Rene. He's a frequent winner of a lot of those races in the New Brunswick, and a good local representative competing here today.
Aussi, nous avons Jean-Marc Doiron aussi, coureur de 1,49 ou 800 mètres, quand même très vite en termes de courte distance, mais ça c'est aux 5 km. And also we have Matthew Lozano as well. He has about a PB of 14:57, which is actually near my PB, which is 14:57 as well. Finished 10th at the 2022 Sporting Life 10K in May in 30:38, so probably more of a 10K runner.
So next we've got Kyle DeWolf from Cockerell Mills, Nova Scotia, 14:44 seed. He competed for both Santa Fe and Dalhousie in the AUS. He was the 2016 cross-country champion. He's now a lawyer based out of Halifax, and made the drive up just yesterday. I was talking to him last night, and he said he didn't want to drive up this morning. Decided to come up a little bit earlier so you get a chance to flush out the legs.
And the next one in line, we actually have a Guilford alumni, Mark Patton. Basically, in 2018, he had a PB of 3:44 for 1,500 meters. So a lot of people are actually track athletes. Want to try to convert that on road. Has a PB of 14:38.
So next, Tyler Jones, actually our sole British citizen competing in this race, so not eligible for the prize money, unfortunately. But he's coming to us out of Windsor, Ontario. He's a 4-time All-Canadian in the CCAA, that is, competing for St. Clair College.
And the next one, we have actually a local boy now actually lives in Moncton, Ontario, but actually from Petitcodiac, New Brunswick. Actually, Lee Wasilius basically ran 29:13, which is a New Brunswick record that was held even by Joël Bourgeois as well. And as well placed bronze medalist at the 2022 NACAC half marathon that was held, I do believe, in somewhere in Mexico there. So in very hot, humid conditions. So very surprised to see him on the start line here. And as well, we actually have one of the fastest marathoners in Canada's history. We do have Tristan Woodfine, 29 years old, the 8th fastest Canadian marathoner in history, trying to get himself in the mix.
And then next out of Mississauga, Ontario, we have Sergio Reyes Villanueva. I think he made a comment the other day saying he peaked in 2018. He was the 10,000 meter champ that year, came 4th at the NACAC competition we hosted in Toronto. I certainly don't think he has peaked. I think he's going to be primed and ready to go today. But that was a comment he made, kind of making fun of himself there.
And as well, we do have Thomas Nobbs, actually ran for state of Washington, actually was transferred to UBC. He's actually a certified lifeguard. So hopefully that no one goes running down the river on the Petitcodiac River right behind us. But he was actually a bronze medalist in the junior race back in 2018 at the NACAC Cross Country Championship.
So the next is Kyle Grieve, coming from Toronto. He's been a Team Canada member and on the track back in the day. Ran his 5K PB just this June to come 3rd at the Athletics Ontario Track Championships, and ran for Guelph back from 2011 to 2015. Actually, he used to compete in Ontario at the same time. He was also the bronze medalist at these championships in 2017. So.
And as well, we do have Dylan Alec as well. It's actually running for University of McMaster, an automotive engineer. Finished, actually his personal best was actually at this year's Canadian Track and Field Championships. and finished 12th there. So still good to have him in the mix.
So then Justin Kent next. I got with some huge range. I was more of a mid-distance specialist initially. Got a 341 1500 PB, which is equivalent to this the infamous, or I guess famous, sub-4 mile. They have kind of conversions, and it would be equivalent to running that if it was a mile race. Now running marathons, and has run a 2:13 marathon, so huge range. We'll see how that fares in the 5K today. PB of 13:46.
Yeah, and as well, coming down as well, another Guelph alumni. We have Connor Black as well. Ran for Guelph. Was the U Sports 2018 Cross Country Championship as well. And actually, his 5K personal best was actually at the Canadian Track and Field Championship this year, which was actually a very stacked field. So looking forward to see what the Guelph alumni runner will be able to do today.
One more alumni from Guelph, Mitch Ubeen, 13:36 PB. He's been a Team Canada member as well. Due to COVID, didn't have a ton of opportunity to race some 5Ks for a couple years, and he actually ran a huge 40-second PB this summer because of kind of some training he'd been doing in the bank. So then he came first this year at the Athletics Ontario Championships, second at the Canada Summer Games, and third at our National Track Championships. So I got to watch out for there, certainly on the rise.
And also someone that I talked to as well this morning, Andrew Alexander, only 23 years old, actually was the ACC conference 3K for indoors as a 28-24 PB in the 10,000 meters. So obviously has a bigger range, but he's certainly one of the favorite contenders to try to go at it when the race is going to be started. So,
and for what we hear, he intends to be one of those guys taking it out fast at that Canadian record pace. To interject here, you can see on the camera they're showing some shots of some of the elite field doing some strides, getting ready. Personally, this is my least, when I was a runner, favorite part before the race. When everyone's there watching you, looking at you, you've got nothing left to do to prepare except for just sit and wait, and you're kind of stuck in your head. So some people, I think, try to get super focused and visualize. Others maybe try to just pretend it's just another day on the track or on the roads. But yeah, I'm sure they have a lot of anticipation now. The excitement's going, heart rate's elevated. They're all warmed up and ready to go. So the next feature, Mike Tate is from Antigonish, Nova Scotia originally, now lives in London, Ontario. He was the 2021 Canadian champ over 5,000. Once again, a local maritime athlete, so probably well known to many of the viewers here. He's been on multiple Canadian teams. So another star in this field.
And as well, now we're going to the faster side of the things. John Gay as well from Vancouver, BC, is another athlete that wants to be in contention for that Canadian record if everything comes in play. Actually made the finals at the 2020 Tokyo Olympics in the 3,000 meter steeplechase. Has a PB of 13:29, so actually still under that Canadian record, but we'll see if that's got to come in play today.
So just a second ago, they were showing on the camera, the runner where there was a little solo shot there, was Ben Flanagan, the next athlete we're going to highlight. Broke the Canadian 10K road record this summer, we said. Stood for 35 years before that, so a huge highlight there.
And as well, to round up the field, we do have Luc Boucher as well, 13:12, which was very fast. Two-time Olympian as well. Went to the Pan Am 2015 edition in Toronto. And as well, just amazing to see how this field will actually come in play. So now actually they're getting started, as they're going to start in about 2 minutes time, local time. So the guys will probably be about 13:35. That's the goal today. So they'll actually have a lead car in front with a time clock, so they give kind of an idea. But they're hoping to be about 8:06 or 8:10?
8:06 through 3K is what they're looking for the splits. So very fast. We're going to try to, there is kilometer markings on the road, and we're going to have a live watch running. So we're going to try to give you live split updates for this race. They're about to get started here. You can see them all on the start line, and we'll try to let you know whether that record's still in play as we progress through and kind of keep track of how the field's going.
And also, just right after the start, we're going to talk about the sneakers. I see most of the athletes are actually running in the some sort of carbon edition sneakers. So as you can see on the loop course, there's obviously turn A. That's the farthest of the turns. That's turn A. Then they come actually back towards the start-finish line, doing a turn B. Turn C is at the farther end as well of the course, but it's less shorter. So now we're actually getting the guys underway.
So here they go. They're off. The lead car's got a little bit of a gap on them here, but they're going to catch up to it shortly. So it's going to probably be a pretty tight field for the first little bit, and then might start to spread out. Like we mentioned, there's going to be a few guys going after that Canadian record. and maybe not everyone's quite as confident as that. So we might see a kind of a lead group and then a chase pack, and we'll see how that plays out if they start to kind of close in as it ends, or if the front group starts to pull even further away. So I think we can see Andrew Alexander there out front. He was checking his watch a minute ago. Like I said, I believe he's indicated he wants to hit very specific fast splits. 806 through 3K is the target. So, and just to his left before, you could see Ben Flanagan, one of the favorites there for sure.
And you have actually John Gay just on the probably right-hand shoulder of Andrew Alexander as well. So the top contenders are definitely putting themselves in the right position. As you can see, people trying to tuck in, trying to get the kind of the drafting. I know there's not barely much wind, but it's good to see that the weather is cooperating with not a downpour.
And you can see everybody kind of picking their different tangent. At different times, you might see the field looking like they're spread pretty wide. There is a couple twists and turns, not sharp turns, but just gradual. So you'll see runners trying to take the straightest line possible across, or just take the most efficient route, they think. So you might see a little bit of spread there in terms of some people running right near the curb, some people running down the middle. Who's that in the orange singlet there? I'm trying to make out.
Orange.
I think that might be Justin Kent up there in the front. We mentioned him, huge range.
I know Mike Tate as well had an orange jersey as well, so that could be one of those guys in the front. But we're about 1:42 on the clock, so still coming up though in the first 5K, so we'll get those split up as soon as we can, but we'll try to keep track on our watches as well to give you a kind of a instant tracking as well. But great to see now they're actually there. This is Assumption Boulevard, so it's actually a very flat course alongside the Petitcodiac River. But these guys are actually moving quite fast. It seems like now it's getting more single files, so that's just to tell how the pace is actually quick. Typically, if they would be bunched, would be more tactical, but there's no thing that's tactical today. I think they're just getting after it.
So at this point in the race, it's very early, obviously. No one's going to be tired just yet, but they obviously still want to make sure they conserve themselves, don't go out too hard. So you're just trying to stay relaxed. You're trying not, if you're not, say, one of the top end runners, you're trying not to get pulled along too fast for yourself. If you're one of the top runners, you're just trying to stay relaxed, keep on pace. Don't overthink it too much. Just stay comfortable and maintain kind of your splits there. So we'll see if we can get you some live splits. They should be coming up to the kilometer here.
2:44 that I have. So there are Canadian pace right now, Canadian record pace. So 2:44 would put at about 13:45. So they're still, within that vicinity, but it's obviously early days, and a lot of them knows that the last kilometer is actually slightly downhill, so they might use that as their advantage coming towards the latter stage of the race.
So that was the 1K split. They're going to come up to about 1,500, and then make the first turn A, and then it's another 500 meters back. We should try to be able to get you a 2K split right around the same point, but on the other side of the median, obviously, for this race. They're going to be on the other side of the road as they come back around the loops. So we'll watch for that too, if we can get that for you guys.
Right now, the camera lead vehicle is actually pulling ahead slightly because of the first turn A. So to make sure that the lead car is actually giving herself enough time to go around this big tight curve here.
These runners are very fast and can take the turns a bit faster than the car. So it's they got to make sure they're not going to get in the way, or they're not going to force the runners to be inhaling some fumes. So it's important to make sure they get a little bit of lead. There you can see the lead car kind of waiting for them. We've got 4 runners in that lead pack. Got John Gay, Ben Flanagan, Andrew Alexander.
Luc Boucher.
Luc Boucher is in the orange, okay.
Yeah.
And then Justin Kent, I think, was the next one back in the blue, chase pack.
And, there's Mike Tate as the other
orange, the little local talent. Is that Lee with Celius in that second pack? I think on the inside, you can kind of see.
And
I think I recognized his stride. I used to run against him often in high school, still, even in university. Good to see the local representatives there. No one in that front pack just yet from the Maritimes, but still early days.
Yeah, still about almost a third of the way, but still early in the 5K here at the 5K Medavie 5K Canadian Running Championship here in Moncton, New Brunswick. Beautiful day, barely any wind out there, but obviously they're using the drafting as kind of to put them mentally focused and really focus on the partners that are, or the opponents that are in front of them. So
yeah, it really is perfect conditions. We were a little worried that as the day went on, after the open race, it might start to heat up, but that hasn't really been the case so far. It's pretty perfect conditions, sunny, not too hot, around like maybe your low 20s in terms of degrees Celsius. Still that group of 4 you can see there, coming by the stationary camera now, followed by a couple little chase groups, and then one big pack back there. we should be coming up to 2K fairly soon here.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Go
we're going to be
back
able to see the 2K split or not, but
if we go back to the lead car, we should be able to see where they're at as we're looking down the field here. So they should be, yeah, 2K was right there. So I think they're still bang on about 244. So just still on that 1340-ish. So they're just shying away from the, but Ben, I actually talked to Ben Flanagan last night at the Elite press conference, and he was saying that even though the ideal pace would be between 809 and 812, would be very pleased with that at 3K mark. So even though they're a couple seconds shy, obviously Ben is known to have excellent closing speed towards the end of the race. Obviously famously known for this for the Fall Mount race that he wins 3 times now in the last 3 years. So.
And we do have official splits here. We were able to get them from the live results. It's only the 1K split that we have so far, but it was exactly what we said, 244, 245. So just to confirm, sometimes you got to double check, make sure your watch is actually following the official time. We did get that accurate, so hopefully the rest of our split should be pretty good here too. So they're now, like we said, they've done the first 2 turns. The next turn they're going to come up to is just under 4K, maybe 3.7, 3.8, and then it'll be the final finishing kilometer all the way down to the end. So it looks like it's still a group of 4 out front if I can see that properly. And then one more lone runner not too far back. I believe that was Justin Kent. Like we mentioned, huge range, 1,500 all the way up to the marathon. So we'll see if he still has that 1,500 speed to maybe close down on that front pack. And once again, prize money all the way back to 7th. So there's certainly things to watch for in the back there as well. Maybe on the next turn, we'll be able to get a shot from the stationary camera.
I think there's actually a chase back by 2-3 athletes there. So that kind of sums up your top 7 right there. So, but obviously the top 10 could be still in the prize.
Here we go. That's Ben Flanagan on the far left. Luke Brochet in the orange. Andrew Alexander's now, I think, in the back of that pack.
Yeah, Justin Kent there.
Is that? I think that's Eubene next.
Oh, Luke Brochet's actually there.
Oh,
so I wonder who's in the orange that's in the pack.
See if we can get it. We should have a name actually on that from the live splits.
On the splits, yes, correct.
Connor Black. Connor Black's up there in the orange.
Wow,
that's great for him.
Yeah.
Former U Sports champion in cross country, competed for the Griffins as we mentioned, 12 Griffins. And now he's taking his talents to the roads. They must be coming through 3K, or did they already get the 3K? Did you see the split there?
No,
they're not up to that yet. Or sorry.
3K should
3K
be
coming here shortly, but they're looking for 806. So right now it's 805. They're just about to hit. Ben Flanagan's starting to pull away in the lead. He's probably putting the pressure on now. This is when really in the race it starts to hurt, and it hurts physically and it hurts mentally because you still know you have a ways to go. There's the 3K.
It's about 8:18, so that's why I think Ben sees like, okay, he's got to get things moving here. So
yeah, so he's winding it up. We'll see if anyone's able to go with him. Like we said, from 3K to 4K, that's the hardest kilometer generally. And then at least at the end, it still hurts, but you know that you're coming towards the finish. You're able to bring it home hard.
It seems like John Gay will try to close that gap, but Ben typically when he takes off, he's very, very hard to get.
Yeah, a very strong runner on the roads. Like you mentioned, what was it, 3 in the past 4 years? He's won that Falmouth race, which is a pretty prestigious road race. I think it's 7 miles is the distance, so a little bit longer than this, but he certainly he made as a youth athlete all the way back to when I was competing against him in high school. He was on the youth team for the 1500. So he's certainly got the wheels. He's got the track credentials as well. He's got speed and strength.
And 7:47 is actually his PR in the 3K. So definitely being obviously known as a very, even on the international stage, you're getting to be up there. So
I don't know if you had the chance to ask him in the interview yesterday, but I did see at one point earlier this year he mentioned that he might actually do his first marathon next year. So I'm not sure if that's still in the cards, but definitely if he's building towards that, then he's got the strength. So Connor Black in 3rd currently.
And Andrew Alexander in 4th there, so hanging there.
Bit of a gap back. That's Justin Kent, and I think that was Eubene, and then Luke Brochet.
Yeah, that's top 7 right now at the moment.
So that's the money. We'll see. Currently, we'll see if this.
Oh, there's Lee Wasilius in the black.
Lee Wasilius, Slow Ships Elite member. Currently living in Ontario, originally from around just outside Moncton.
Dylan Alec as well there, competing for McMaster, but so running in this open race. So we're gonna be coming at already 4 kilometers. So
Okay.
take right after this sharp
That's the
hairpin
final
here,
turn, yeah.
final turn of the race.
Good job.
So we'll get a chance to see here on the stationary camera just how big the gap is.
Look how the curve, they're actually trying to hug it, and it's just the speed they're going. They're going so wide, though. And you can see even Connor Black
Connor
here.
Black coming in next, followed by Andrew Alexander. And it's an interesting time of year for the races, where we're catching the athletes, depending on whether they're focused on the track, like Eubene and Justin Kent and Luc Boucher. Some of the athletes have been racing all through the summer and have just continued on trying to maintain that kind of peak all the way into this final race. Others are just coming off of a break. I know Mike Tate, I know Luc Boucher are just coming off of a break and then kind of starting fresh and back into it. So you have advantages and disadvantages to both. You might be burnt out, but if you are trying to stretch your season this long, but you also might be just peaked. And then if you're coming off of a break, you're a little bit more fresh, but you also might be suffering a little bit from not having run as much recently. So we'll see how it works out.
4K split was about 2:45 as well. So we're at about 11:05.
I think that was Thomas Nobbs coming through in the lead of that group. That's Mike Tate now there.
So they're still, they're about 13:45 still. So there's still about 10 seconds. So Ben will need to certainly put the hammer in order to get that Canadian record. But we all know that Ben can actually reel pretty fast, especially that on the last part here is actually slightly downhill. So hopefully that will get some good camera shots from the lead vehicle there. As you can see, Ben kind of opening up the gap. John Gay, can't really see him in the picture, really in the far back, but I know he was trying to reel in on Ben Flanagan here. But
John Gay, Olympic finalist in the steeplechase, so certainly has the speed side and the strength. The steeple's a grueling event. Definitely no barriers today to jump over, no water pit. He might wish there was a water pit at the end to help cool off, but yeah, we've got quite a range of different specialties, I guess, between the athletes in here. Like we mentioned, 1,500 all the way up to marathon. But right now, Ben seems to be the class of the field. He was definitely expected to be one of the favorites, and he's running away with it now. He did state his intention to go after that Canadian record. He's going to have to close hard if he wants to get it, but we'll keep our eyes on the clock here.
We're getting near the skate part, so we're actually coming probably in the last 500 meters of the race here. So we're definitely coming at the latter stage.
If he was going to get the record, he's got less than a minute left. We'll see if he's close to that. So yeah, they should be coming in here towards the finishing chute soon. There's people lined up on either side. I'm sure he's gonna appreciate the crowd support once he gets into that finishing area. You can see on the camera a few more spectators.
Yeah, he's trying to take the closest tangent here on the side of the street. So obviously it's an open road, so they can lean in as close as possible while staying always on the pavement. So we should be seeing him actually quite shortly here, coming in front of the big crowd here, coming in front of the courthouse. And you can see the lead vehicle there putting aside. You can actually hear the local crowd cheering Ben Flanagan coming in.
He's at 13:18 coming through. It's going to be very close.
Oh, it's actually right here.
Closing hard. Oh, see him in front of us. It's going to be tight.
13:25.
13:30. I think he's going to be
30,
just off.
31. Let's see if he crosses it. 33. 34, 35. He's got to be just a few seconds off.
But a great performance. A great performance today. 13:40 or 13:38 I got him at with a hand time. We'll see what the official is. That's John Gay now closing with a great performance as well.
Sub 14, so that's really good.
Andrew Alexander took it out hot to start. He's holding on now. He's getting in there for bronze, it looks like. Luc Boucher was way back at in 6th or 7th, I believe. Now
Justin
he's moved
Kent
up.
as well.
Justin
And
Kent.
Mitch Eubene.
Connor Black was one of the early leaders. Looks like he tied up a bit, but he's still going to get in there, I think, for the top 7.
And Lee Wasilis and Tristan Woodfine, they're battling out for the prize money there. So
that's Connor Black now just finishing on the camera. So we're watching on the street, seeing them. There's Kyle Grieve coming in. Lee Wasilis just finished, followed by Woodfine, one of the fastest marathoners that we mentioned in the field in Canadian history.
We have Dylan Alec there from McMaster Engineer. So very tough, close battle with those two.
That's Mark Patton, I believe, is the next runner coming in. Oh, sorry, Alec is just crossing the line there now. And then we've got Patton coming in behind him, just entering the finishing chute. Should be coming across here shortly. So a very fast race overall. We'll have to see if we can get the official results here shortly.
Sergio coming in now on the finish line with Thomas Dobb as well. Trying to get under that 15-minute barrier.
So it's a sprint finish for a lot of the athletes, pretty close together.
Mike Tate as well. closing in pretty fast, known as obviously 1,500 meters with a 3:41
So that was
PR.
Sergio. There's Nubbs coming in across the line. So let's see if we can get. There's Mike Tate from Nova Scotia, small town.
Aaron Manning.
Aaron Manning out of Halifax, originally from Toronto. Good finish for him. I'm sure he'll be happy with that.
Cal DeWolf. Oh, that's Matthew Lozano.
Matthew Lozano coming in. Cal's just entered the finishing chute, as you mentioned. Also out of Halifax, another Slow Ships Elite team member. So he should be crossing the line here shortly. Right now on the camera, we've got Tyler Jones. We mentioned the only one who was a British citizen in this race, but I actually roomed with him last night. He said he's working on getting that Canadian citizenship here shortly. So
there's Evan Arsenault, a local boy from St. John.
Local standout, trail runner and road runner.
Oh, we have another finisher here.
Great finish. I think that was Bergeron, the joggler,
oh, yes.
as we know him affectionately. He wasn't juggling today, but he did still finish strong. Right now we're at 16 minutes to just give you a sense.
Paul Gallant is right here, 16:06, a local boy from Dieppe, known as the Moose incident there. So we have Jean-Marc Doiron as well, from Dieppe as well. Finissant la tête de course avec Paul et Jean-Marc, les athlètes locaux.
Paul just crossed, and Jean-Marc's coming in. He's going to be sub 16:30. So shortly here, we're hopefully going to have a bit of an interview with some of the top three finishers, but we'll see if we get everyone, all the final elites kind of coming in.
I think we have the last runner here. So le dernier coureur,
he's waving to the crowd, appreciating the support. Oh, that's the local high school, right?
Oh,
high
Isaac.
School talent.
Isaac, yeah, was a triple gold medalist at the NBIA this summer. So obviously an up-and-coming runner, obviously very cool to be blending with Canada's best there. We see Ben Flanagan actually with the Canadian flag and saying hi to the crowd and kind of get this salute as he always does typical in races. So very cool.
So we've got in the two other Canadian flags you can see there on the screen now. That's John Gay in front and Andrew Alexander. So those are our second and third place finishers. So let's see if we can get the official results there. I'm just going to refresh my live results and see if anyone wants to follow along as well. It's on Atlantic Chip is providing the timing. The live results can be found on Race Roster. And so we have them here, 13:38 for Ben Flanagan, so just off that Canadian record. I'm sure he'll still be happy with the time, though. 13:58, second, John Gay. Andrew Alexander, 14:06, just over that. I'll go all the way down to seventh for the prize money. Fourth, Luc Boucher, like we said, closing strong to get in there, 14:08. Oh, sorry, I thought we had another finisher. That's just Ben doing a little victory lap. So then fifth was Mitch Eubene out of Tecumseh, Ontario, runs for Guelph, 14:09. Justin Kent, sixth, 14:10. Oh, we're going to throw it now to Ben and Mark for a live interview, I think. Let's see if they're ready for us. I guess I'll read the seventh place finisher before we get to that. Connor Black from Guelph, 14:15. And now we'll throw it over to Mark and Ben.
Sponsored by On Athletics, for those, or On Running, I should say, for those who are known for the brand. So some athletes are actually sponsored by different running brands as well. So definitely Ben was obviously the favorite to win the race. We thought we were going to have actually a closer battle for that Canadian record, but it's obviously on the day of that decides. And glad to see the top three finishers with their Canadian flag.
And for those who maybe follow the NCAA, Ben was the 10K championship, 10K champion back in 2018. And for those who may be wondering, based on watching that race, Ben's mother is here. So anyone who watched that might remember hearing him say, "Where's my mom? Where's my mom?" So she's here somewhere. You might be looking for her again. I'm not sure. Okay, now we'll see if we can throw it over to Mark.
What a great day! What an event! Andrew Alexander took it out. I believe that's what the plan was. Tell us about that. And but you didn't just get in there for a third place in the Bronze. Congratulations, but tell us about it.
Yeah, so I just want to take it out. Hope you boys go after the Canadian record today. Wasn't make cards for today, but these boys ran amazing and great conditions, great crowd, just happy to be out here and just loving the atmosphere. So can't complain.
Well, we love you being here. I'm just gonna scoop across here to John Gay. John, you were with us last year on the virtual. You're now here for the real. tell us about the race, but I also want to hear what's the difference.
Oh man, the difference is everything. Moncton, you guys were incredible out there today. Thanks for coming out and bringing your loud voices. Yeah, I can't say how awesome this atmosphere was. I've already marked it on my calendar for next year, and just an incredible field altogether. Huge thanks to Andrew for taking us out and making the pace honest, and it gave us a fighting shot. And obviously, huge congratulations to Ben. He proved why he's the guy to beat on the road circuit in North America right now. When he makes a move, he makes it hard. There's no looking back. So super fun to be out here competing against these guys, and already looking forward to Moncton 2023.
Well, I have to speak to the organizers about that one. Thank you, John, for that. Definitely we'll be back in one form or another because you guys have put on such a great show and we're having so much good time. Ben, to you now. Let me just start because let's start with the family because this is a fun family, and so you folks go from Kitchener, come and see you. Just tell us what that means to you.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to have the support from family, friends. Yeah, my parents drove 16 hours. I got lunch with them yesterday, and they were falling asleep at the table because it was such a long drive. So they recovered and came out here. My dad was cheering everyone on halfway out of the field, so it was so cool. And then the Moncton community, after already getting their job done, running their races, to come out and show their support, that's so kind, and it was electric coming down that home stretch. It was awesome.
Well, speaking of that, because first of all, you had four sides you all along, and Andrew and John and I'm trying to remember who was there. Connor who went brilliantly. He was probably not expected to be there. What's he doing there? But anyway, great racing by him. And so you probably knew you were slightly off pace, and you made up like 7 or 8 seconds to finish within a whisker. So tell us about all of that.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. Like John was saying, having Andrew out there setting the pace was so cool. And it's really hard to pace on the roads because there's so few benchmarks where you can get feedback on how close you are to that record. So Andrew did a great job, and I knew with John out front and Connor there, it was just a race, and the best performances happen when it gets competitive. So I knew it was going to take a big close, and I was on my mind. I was counting Mississippi's in my head coming out of home stretch, and I did everything I had, but the story's not over. We can try again.
Well, no, it's never over. But certainly from all of us here in the Moncton community, our sponsors, Medavie, and in particular all the volunteers who are going to be there, by the way, after and greeting you guys in congratulations. I want to congratulate all 3 of you and all the runners in this race. It was fabulous. You guys put on a fantastic show, and obviously you've already won the hearts of everybody.
Thank you so much. It was an amazing time, and we can't wait to celebrate with the community today. So looking forward to having some beverages afterwards with everybody.
All right, but before we'll step aside because we've got the ladies, so I think everybody alongside will pull down or watch what happens on that side. So thank you, gentlemen. I'll let you move on. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Oh, yeah.
All right, so we just got to hear there from our men's top 3.
Next up,
certainly go if you're here in person. Looking forward for the chance to go get to talk to those guys after the race. Like Ben said, maybe you can grab a beverage with them. I'm sure a good opportunity to meet them and hear what they have to say and maybe get some tips for your own running. So now we got the women starting here in only 7 minutes, so we're gonna do a quick rundown of our elite women's field. So to kick that off, first one, Julia Reed. She's a local, a Fredericton, New Brunswick, where she comes out of 1857 5K PB. Wins a lot of the local road races. Actually competed at the Fredericton Marathon this year. Fredericton Marathon weekend, won the 5K, and then the next day came second in her age group in the half marathon. So certainly looking forward to seeing how she does here.
And we do have as well, next we have actually a local, Rochelle Johnson from Moncton. Actually has a PB of 18:31, but mostly known for her marathons. She has a personal best of 3 hours and 1 minute in the marathon, 6th all-time on the Run New Brunswick record. So
then we have Jenny Orr out of Stanley Bridge PEI. She's a registered dietitian, and I was reading that her first ever road race was actually a marathon, so she just jumped into the deep end. She's done some other, obviously, 5s and 10Ks and many things since then, but looking forward to seeing how she does today with PB of 18:13. So then, also PB of 18:13, Sophie Black is our next athlete from Dieppe, New Brunswick. She actually originally competed in track and field as a multi-eventer. Now she's obviously doing some of the distance events, and 12th all-time on the Run NB stats for Road 5K. So pretty impressive transition there.
And next up, we do have Brianna Sandluck, 22 years old, from Thornburn, Nova Scotia. Is actually on her third year eligibility in St. FX and was part of Canada Games team for Nova Scotia. So good to have her on the start line.
So our next athlete there, also out of New Brunswick, Miramichi, Megan Duffy. She's a physiotherapist and 8th all-time in run on the Run MB stats for 5K, PB of 17:55. So a good contingent of maritime athletes there, PEI, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, all representing.
Now, speaking of PEI, we do have the next one on the list, Paige Chisholm. She's from Charlottetown, PEI, and she currently is a veterinarian. Finished 5th at the AUS Cross Country Championship in 2019, and she actually ran a personal best at the Canada Summer Games as well. And followed then we have Erin Poirier, known as the mom coach, coaches her son through hockey, and she actually does coach as running for as well. Full-time nurse as well, and she's part of the Halifax Road Hammers, which we actually seen quite a bit of those singlets here on the course. So we'll follow to the next one.
So now we've got two twins. I'm sure they love getting lumped together like this, but Michelle Krasnowski and Kimberly Krasnowski, both out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, both competed for Midwestern State in the U.S. and now back in Canada. Got very similar PBs across the board. I believe Michelle has the edge in most of the shorter events, but Kimberly actually has the faster half marathon PB, which they just ran earlier this year. So we'll see how they match up now in the 5K.
Et aussi sur le côté francophone, nous avons de Montréal, Sabrina Saint-Gelais, une triathlète, mais elle a été quand même 3 fois représentée au niveau national au International Triathlon Union, qu'elle a fini en 2e position en 2019 et très bonne sur le piano.
So then we have Erin Mawhinney out of Hamilton, Ontario. She actually just got married with an old teammate of mine from university. I believe it was just a couple weeks ago. And she's an ICU nurse and also during the pandemic participated in a program or I guess initiative giving out vaccines to homeless people. So props to her for that and good luck today in the race. 16:33 is her seed.
And next up, when making the top 7, we have Hannah Woodhouse, competed in 5 years with the Guelph Griffins. Actually finished 4th in the 3000 at the 2020 U Sport Track and Field Championship. And she's been on 2 national teams as well, back in 2015 as a junior and as a senior in 2020 that were held in British Columbia. And as well, we have next one, we actually have Cleo Boyd, actually is the daughter of Steve Boyd, has a very well-known road racer, track racer, and coach as well, former coach from Kingston, Ontario. And she actually represented Canada at the 2012 World Junior Championship in the 3000.
I believe they said she came from the farthest distance south, came all the way from where she's living in Charlottesville down in the States. So a big trip to come up to here for this race.
And as well, there's actually next one in line, New Balance sponsored athlete. We have Erin Teschuk. Actually, she was actually on a couple of national teams. She's actually a 2016 Olympian, competed as well at 2015 Pan Am and the 2015 World Champs in the 3K steeple from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
So next we have Regan Yee, who's an Under Armour athlete, 15:31 5K PB. Her specialty is the 3,000 meter steeplechase. I believe she is the number 2 all-time in Canada or something in that range. She's an Olympian, competed in U Sports for Trinity Western University, won double gold at that time in university for 1,500 and 3,000. So she's got some speed. Oh, we see they're getting ready to start here. We've got 2 more to go through.
Yeah.
Sasha Golish, she's apparently, I heard, just recovering from the Norwalk virus, world masters record holder for 40 to 44 age group in the indoor mile. And then our final athlete, Jeremy,
is none other than Julianne Stalley, who should be the favorite here. If you look on the shot, she would be on the left near the white pylon there in the New Balance, representing obviously the one that we'll look to watch. Her personal best is 14:57 on the track, while she actually competed at the 2020 Olympics in the 5,000 meters, and obviously multiple national representation for Team Canada as well. So good to have her on the start line, but it's got to be more, I do believe, of a tactical race than an actual going for the gun at like the men's side.
So we've heard. We'll see if that plays out. Certainly, Julianne does have the pedigree to go after that national record, or so some of the other athletes. But she's our top, I guess, favorite, you could say. So we'll see if they decide to go out for it off the gun, or if it becomes more of a tactical race, fighting for the minor placings and the positioning.
I think the lead pack, from what I can see here, was Julianne Stally. We had as well
Sasha Golish was definitely up there. I saw her. I think she's on the front left there. And,
Erin Teschuk as well was there as well, obviously representing New Balance. As most of the athletes, actually, speaking of the shoes, obviously carbon shoes has been obviously a very hot topic in the last couple of years, but carbon has been kind of the more innovative shoes, getting faster time and faster recovery as well. So
from that stationary camera shot, we can see fourth place there was Regan Yee. Leading there was a bit of a gap already. Leading that chase pack was Erin Mawhinney, we mentioned previously, the ICU nurse. So yeah, we got a good field here. We're already starting to see a bit of a split with the front. I think it was 4 or 5 there. Next stationary shot, we'll probably get a view to see exactly how many. Looked like 4 or 5 out front, and then a very large pack behind that. So we'll see how that plays out as the race goes on. It's still very, very, very early, but yeah, we're looking forward to the first 1K split will be a good indicator of what kind of pace they're on. And if there is, like we did mention earlier, for anyone who missed it, there is an extra prize money if either, the men's just barely missed, but if the women here are able to get the Canadian record, there is an extra bonus. So we'll see if they're on pace for that. It's pretty fast. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. As you can see, there's only a top 4 pack, almost the same kind of race as the men's side. As they're actually coming. That's not a 1K marker. That's actually the 3K marker when they'll be looping around once more. So they actually have 2 laps of this course. There's actually what we call turn A, which is the farthest turn down at the corner of Assumption Boulevard and Von Harvey. Then basically coming backwards towards the finish line, but then the loop on turn B, which is about the 3K marker, and then going on the farther end of the course again, which is turn C. And just like after turn C, there's basically 1K to go. So we'll see how the race unfolds.
So the Canadian record, for context, for the woman was set by Emilie Mondor, and it's 15:16. So the only athlete with a seed faster than that currently is Julianne Stally. So she could go after. We also never know. People might PB. Obviously, it's a fast course. We saw Ben just miss that men's record. So we'll like we say, we'll try to give you the splits. We'll see what type of pace they're on. But right now, it looks like 4 maybe in that front pack. Maybe they're starting to split a little bit. We'll get a better sense as we go by some of the corners and get to see kind of how the pack is spreading out.
With the splits as well, the 1K split that's provided by Atlantic Chip obviously gives us an idea at 1K, so we'll be able to, I know there's Julianne Stally, there's Erin Cheschuk, and as well Regan Yee as well. Just trying, there's the 1K here. We're at about a 3:06, about 15:30 pace. So still not that far off the Canadian record pace, but we'll see how the race unfolds towards the latter stage.
What would be 4 there in the front, and then a couple chase athletes.
Erin Mawhinney there, I think in 6.
Yeah, it was the last athlete we saw there with the blonde ponytail.
Yep.
And then it looks like a bit of a gap back. So obviously there's prize money down to 7. So if we had that right and there's only 6 there in that front, then the next big pack is going to be quite a race for that final prize money winning spot. We'll see. We should be able to get 1K official splits here at some point on the live results too, for anyone who's following along and wants to see those. They're provided by Atlantic Chip. If you go to the Atlantic Chip website, there is a link to race roster where the actual results are shown. So it's not updated yet from what I'm seeing, but we'll let you know as soon as we have those available. They should be coming in here in a bit. And in the meantime, we should be coming up here shortly to the first turn.
Turn A?
Yeah, it's about 1.5K into the race. So still at the early point where athletes are feeling pretty comfortable. We saw in the men's race, where was it? It was about 3K where they started to really wind it up and the field really spread out. That chase pack kind of stayed together for the first 3K of the race, and then that's where things got tough.
Yeah, so as you can see, that's the farthest turn at about 1,500 meters. So that's slightly where the lead car is right now, would be about 1,500. So they're still about on a 3:0 and change pace. So still at about a 15:30 pace. But definitely, like Nick was saying, at about 3K, that's where Ben, obviously seeing the split at 3K, wanted to go for after that Canadian record, so that's why he took it out after that.
So I believe that front 4 was Julianne Stally, Sasha Golish, Regan Yee, and was it, you thought it was Erin Teschuk? I was thinking maybe that looked like Hannah Woodhouse. It's sometimes a little hard to make out.
Well, there's 2 New Balance athletes there, so it's very distinguished.
Okay, yeah. Just gonna check if we have any official splits there. They're gonna be coming up to 2K. The 2K split is pretty well the exact same location as the 1K, just on the other side of the median. So we'll keep an eye out. Try to give you an unofficial 2K split as well. See if they're maintaining pace. We can see some cyclists on the course. I guess they must just be out there providing moral support on the other side.
They're actually volunteers. We actually have most volunteers on the course. They have typically an orange shirt, so they're a bit distinguished alongside the course, kind of helping the athletes with the corners and obviously securing this Assumption Boulevard with all the side streets on the side. But surprised that actually not taking the shortest tangent. Like typically you would actually hug more on the curves, but actually they're just following the lead car, and that's kind of how the race unfolds here. So
yeah, so maybe we'll get a chance on the next shot to see, or at some point on one of the corners, we might be able to get a view of the next chase pack back behind this, because as we say, it's at the top 7 in the prize money. So we've seen 4 go by there, then 5.
that's Sasha, I think, and Aaron Moini.
That's 6. So then we have a 7th runner here. We'll see if we can make out who that is as they go by. And then, yeah, so it's a little strung out, not much of a big chase pack, but everybody's still within sight of each other. So that's an important part, I guess, in these races, when keeping contact with people so you can still see them ahead. You can still judge kind of how much of a gap you have, so that if you have a little bit of gas left, you can try to make that up. We saw in the men's race, Luc Bruchet was sitting back around 6th or so, back from the lead pack. He closed hard, got up into the prize money. Not quite to the top 3, but certainly closed hard. So we'll see if we have anything similar in the women's, or if it just stays with these front 4.
That's the nice thing about racing, is even though you think that you may stay at a certain position, the race is not over until you actually cross the finish line. So hats off to the ones that actually have the wheels at the end after a very solid effort to actually pull it through and kind of get those legs moving.
All right, so what do we have now for time? We're coming up around 7 minutes just over.
It's about halfway mark here, but we don't actually have a halfway split. But
the next turn is right around 2.7, 2.8K, something around there. So we should be approaching that here fairly soon. That's
actually was about 2.5. So like they're probably still at around 15:20, 15:25 pace from my perspective. But still, the Canadian record is still only 10 seconds away, so anything can happen. It seems like they're going at a pretty solid pace here. So the skate party's here. They're actually going to be coming into the turn B, which is actually the closest to the start-finish line.
And we did see in that men's race, Ben was slightly off the 3K split that they were hoping for, Ben Flanagan, but then he closed very hard, gapped the rest of the field, and just missed that Canadian record. So if these ladies are just off the record pace as well when it comes through the 3K split, they might still have a chance. It seems to be a fast finishing course, like Jeremy's mentioned. There's very little elevation on this, but there is a slight downhill for the final finish, so that can certainly help a little bit. Keep the legs rolling, keep the speed up. Here they come, the leaders. Around the first corner, it's down to 3 now in the front pack.
Yeah, so there's Julianne leading, and Aaron Teschuk in 3rd, and Regan just kind of falling back into 4th, but trying to figure out who's the other athlete that's leading with the pack.
We do have the official 1K splits now. It's a little out of date now, I guess. But
it's Cleo.
Cleo Boyd was the leader.
Wow.
Okay, so we had that mixed up. 307 was the official 1K split. Cleo Boyd, Julianne Sally, Aaron Teschuk, Regan Yee. Sasha Golish, okay, was back. She's in 5th, so we were mixing that up. She was just off the pack at that point. Now she's a little bit further back. I think we saw her there in the shot a minute ago.
So we should be getting at around 3K shortly. So we'll see on, I do believe, our left, our right-hand side as we're watching. And because I think the marker was at the median somewhere. So we should be coming there shortly. We're about 9:20 on the clock, so we'll see.
Yeah, 3K should be coming up here. And we'll get a good sense on that in terms of what type of pacing they're on. We say down to 3 in the hunts for the medals, but also the prize money. That's 3K there, that sign.
So that's at 9:36, or about 16 flat. So they actually slowed down. So I don't think the Canadian record is in sight for today. I think it's more of the top 3 in terms of the prize purse. So
the medals and the prize, because this is the championship, right? So the medals are definitely significant.
And especially there's a big gap if you're looking at the prize purse. You're looking at it could be like even $1,000 from first to third, and there's tightly bunched here. So
yeah, it should be a good sprint to the finish for sure. So this is, like we mentioned earlier, the toughest part of the race right now. We'll see if somebody makes a move and tries to break the rest of the field. That's kind of what we saw with Ben in the men's. We'll see if our favorite is Julianne Staley. We'll watch for her. Maybe she's going to make a similar move. But right now it's Cleo and Aaron right up there with her.
and it's good to see Cleo as well up in the mix. I know she has a 15:57 PR, but good to see her. That's actually battling out for top 3 here, so that's pretty fantastic to see.
So they'll make the final turn in a couple minutes here now, and that's about 3.7, 3.8K into the race, and then they have just over a kilometer straight through to the finish, and that's kind of the final push.
As you can see on the opposite side, there's on the right-hand side of the road, that's actually the 4K split, so you must be coming at the turnaround point very shortly.
Yeah, so they just went by, equivalent of the 4K, so they got about 200 meters till the turn, and then 200 meters back to that sign, and we'll get the final kilometer split before they have the push to the finish. It can be deceiving, I find, on races like this where it's very open. There is a few twists and turns, but when you can see the finish ahead of you and it's still a ways away, sometimes you kind of have to judge your kick a little bit, because once you see it, you're like, oh, it's there. I can start sprinting into the finish, but sometimes it's not actually so close as you think. And
actually, I remember back in Ottawa in 2013, I was actually second in terms of Canadians, and at the finish line there was actually 2 finishing chutes. There was one where the camera, like journalists or media, was, and probably like 100 meters after that was the actual finish. But taking off the last curve, I was able to get a kick, but actually Christian Mercier was able to out kick me at the end because I misjudged the finishing chute at the end.
So is that our 2 New Balance athletes out front, I believe? They look like they're wearing the same kits.
And this is Reagan Yee, sponsored by Under Armour.
Coming around the corner. Under Armour athlete, yes. And then is that still Sasha Golish? I think coming up in 5th, we saw there in the corner.
Yep.
So now we're back to the leaders. Should be coming up on 4K here shortly. Probably 100 meters. You can kind of see some of the other athletes on the other side of the median as they go by. Yeah, so it should be an exciting finish here. They're still pretty tightly bunched, still a lot of room. Like we say, sometimes people misjudge their kick. They go a little early, and then somebody else who settles in a little bit is able to find a second wind and close hard.
It seems like Julianne, I think she's in the lead. I think she's opened up the gap, doing kind of like a retake of Ben Flanagan with the kick. So let's see if everything is well judged. The 4K split should be coming soon. And the 4K was about there, so typically about 12:55. So there's still probably shooting for about a 16 flat. That's probably the goal at this point. So we'll see if they can unleash the last K with a vicious kick. So
here at the finish line, we're seeing the crowd was kind of spread up and down the course to watch some of the, I think maybe at the B turn there, where a lot of people were watching. They've all kind of working their way back. Everyone's excited to see this finishing sprint. Be exciting for the athletes too. Always good to have the spectators and the noise. So I'm sure they're looking forward to coming into this kind of final finishing shoot. It looks like it is starting to stretch out now. This is when if you make a move at 1K, you really got to make sure you put the hammer down. You can't show any signs of weakness, because the other runners they can still see you, and they'll pick up on that. And if you're if you're in the front, you don't know how the people behind you are feeling, but the people behind, they can look at you and they can see you if you show any signs of weakness.
It seems like from the camera, I know that's probably like a good 3 seconds, I would say, from first to second. But I think Julianne Staley now, she's making a very commanding statement there, kind of following the nearest tangent as close as you can, but trying to hard to see if whoever's in second right now.
So she just went by the 3K on the other side of the road, so that's less than 500 meters to go, I believe, to the finish. So
yeah, once we see the skate park, I think the skate park will be just on our left-hand side as our viewers. So then we'll be able to find out actually at that point.
Looks like second and third is going to be a good battle. It's a little hard to tell from the camera, but it looks like they're very tightly knit. And even if it is a bit of a gap, sometimes, like I say, you get to that final kick and somebody has an extra gear. It should be a good battle to finish for that. And like we say, a lot of prize money on the line there between different positioning. And obviously silver and bronze in contention there for that one.
Yeah, we do have the skate park there, so probably in the last 400 meters, and the lead car will actually pull probably to the side very shortly, and probably we should have a camera from the finish line. We will to see as they're approaching, and like Nick was saying, the crowd is gathering right now. With probably less than about a minute ago at this time. So we're at 15 right now. So
15:03.
So it should be about a 16 minutes, depending on her closing speed. So that's Julianne Sally, as you can see now from the finishing
we got the
standpoint.
view from this finishing chute. You can see the lead car coming in. It's going to pull off in a second, and we'll see all of our finishers come through the finish line. They're about to come by in front of us here. We're about maybe 50 meters from the finishing chute.
So about 15,
lead cars just pulled off. Yeah, 15:30 they're at right now. So
still good for sub 16. So we should see Julianne Sally there as she comes right in front of us. So Julianne Sally
closing strong, looking good.
About 15:40. So she's got to break that 16.
The crowd's cheering her on now.
She's got to break the tape.
Finish.
And Aaron Teschuk as well, finishing second. So New Balance 1-2, 15:55 unofficially. Cleo Boyd as well in third.
Yep, coming through. She's entered the finishing chute area now. So Teschuk there on the screen, just crossing the line. New Balance 1-2. Cleo Boyd. And now we've got Regan Yee just entering the chute.
Under Armour representation.
Under Armour representative. Steepler. 3,000 steeple. Translates well over to the 5K.
Probably one of our oldest competitor on the elite side, Sasha Gullish.
Yeah, she actually is eligible for the Canadian Masters Championship that happened earlier in the open race. But I guess wanted to test her chops against the higher level of competition. She's coming in here
at about 16:40, so that's pretty good.
And like we mentioned, World Masters record holder. So
Erin Mohini right now finishing.
Yep.
And I think it's one of the twin sisters.
Yeah, I apologize, but not sure which one. That's the other right there. So we'll see in the official results who was who. Apologize for that. I'm sure they get that all the time. Michelle and Kimberly coming in. What was that? Was that
17:06? So it might have been Michelle. But I think the other twin is coming not so far behind. Yeah, that's the other twin. So that's probably Kimberly that's finishing. It's more than the half marathoner.
Here she comes there. Yeah. Is that? I think that's Woodhouse there.
Yep.
Hannah Woodhouse.
Yep.
Alumni from Guelph coming in strong for the finish.
And from Quebec, Sabrina Saint-Gelais qui s'en vient à la ligne d'arrivée avec quand même un bon sprint. Alors environ 17:48 qui est non officiel.
So we got the official times here for the winners. So 15:55 for Julianne Sally, Aaron Teschuk, 16:06. So an 11-second gap in that final kilometer about where she pulled away. Cleo Boyd, 16:12, just a little bit back. 16:28 for fourth was Regan Yee. That's all we've got for official times now. We'll update you as they kind of fill in. I'll keep refreshing the feed. Oh, we got more now. Okay. So fifth place, 16:45 was Sasha Golish. 17 minutes even. In sixth was Erin Mawhinney. And then it was Michelle Krasnowski in 3:21. And then 3:28 was her twin sister, Kimberly Krasnowski.
And that's Paige Chisholm, UPI athlete there.
St. FX, is she not? From PEI. Oh, UPI?
But she actually went to St. FX first. Now she's doing
graduate.
Graduate, correct.
That's so Erin Poirier. Roadhammers.
Or as known as the mom coach.
Strong finishes for all the women coming in here. Where we're at? We're still at under 19 minutes.
Yeah, which is still very solid for any ladies. And see here, pumping the fist here.
Yeah,
bib number strong. 22.
Megan Duffy of Miramichi finishing in just over 19 minutes. So that's another strong finish. And then our next competitor, not too far behind. Sophie Black, the former multi-eventer, now distance runner from Moncton.
Julia
Reed, Fredericton road running standout. We found out last night, winner of many 5Ks and IPAs, which is a fun run they do in Fredericton, I guess, where they have some IPAs and also run some 5Ks. So translated well here into the elite field.
Yeah, so that would probably sum up the field in the sub 20. So sub 20 for women's is actually a very high standard, if you want, in terms of rankings, even on nation standpoint. So
I think we might have one more runner coming through, unless we missed them maybe on the feed. Just refreshing the live results to see if we've got everybody through or not.
I think Rochelle Johnson we didn't mention was Jenny Orr as well.
Yeah, so maybe a few more still coming
Brianna
in.
Sandluck as well. So those are the ones that we haven't mentioned yet. So
And at some point we're gonna try to grab the top three. Oh, here come the top three now, doing a little victory with their Canadian flags. We're gonna get an interview with them later too at the finish line. So once they get a chance to interact with the crowd a little bit, they'll come back and we'll get to hear their thoughts on the race, thoughts on the course, and looking forward to hearing that.
not sure if we do have any. Must have been a couple of DNF.
I think I can see someone in the distance. They're coming now. We'll see what their time is. We're at 20:40 now for the running clock.
Oh, right there, yeah, you can see the white singlet.
Yeah,
that's cool to see all the pro athletes really getting engaged with the running community here. So really showing their signs of support with the Moncton crowd here.
You can see lots of kids still here too. They must have competed in that kids 1K earlier. It was great to see the youth all out here, and now they get a chance to see what the elite running looks like on the top end. So I believe that's Rochelle Johnson coming in now. I think she is the.
That's it is. Yep.
She's coming in 21:15. We're at now about, so
still good.
A strong finish for her.
Still good to finish the race.
Lots of support for sure.
As being a local athlete from Moncton.
Great to see the local competitors. A very strong elite field and complemented by a very strong group of local competitors in that. So it's great to see.
And also Rochelle, known as obviously a marathoner. So like we were saying, some people have a broad range of distance between the 1500 and the marathon. So obviously being part of the field, just being part of here as being a local athlete, being well represented here, that's a fantastic achievement.
Yeah, it's great to see. So hopefully here soon they'll be able to grab those three medalists to get a final interview to get their thoughts. Julie, so I guess for some background, Julianne Staley, who just was our winner today for the women, she competed last year in the virtual 2021, where you had to submit your time that you ran on your own with 2 official GPS watches recording the timing. She competed in that and finished second, so she upgrades this year in person up to the gold. So that's good to see. Erin Mawhinney last year was the 6th place. Was she 5th today, I believe? Double check that. She was 6th again. So saying she repeats her performance from last year, virtual and in person, but great performances both years. So great to see that. We're getting some shots of the fans now coming in. There's Alex and Lily Coffin. So both competed in the open race earlier and are also sponsors of the event. Maybe we'll recognize our sponsors one more time here now before we throw over to the finish. So
huge thanks to all of our sponsors as well that made this race possible, and all the volunteers as well. I was able to get up sleepless nights, especially in the last couple of days, to get everything organized. So shout out to everybody. So Nick, let's go with sponsors.
So just I guess maybe we'll go through quickly the main ones and then go down through the whole list. So Medavie was our presenting sponsor of this event. So obviously this is a Medavie 5K, and we're very thankful to them for all the support. Irving Consumer Products was the sponsor of the Canadian Masters 5K and Open 5K that happened earlier, the presenting sponsor. And so if you didn't tune in for that, it was great. You can always go back. This live stream will be uploaded after the completion of the event, and you can always go back and watch. There were some great performances there. And then for the men's elite, the presenting sponsor was Lounsbury Group. Obviously, we saw just short of the Canadian record there. A great performance, a stacked field. And then here on the women's side, the presenting sponsor was IA Financial Group. And obviously, a great race now. I guess we're going to get a chance maybe to hear from the winners in a minute.
As Mark is trying to gather all the top 3 positions, but just a quick rundown as well on the remaining sponsors. So, faire la liste un peu des commanditaires de cette course. We have the province of Brunswick, la province New Brunswick, Lounsbury Group. We have City of Moncton, Ashford Living, Arc Clean Energy, Benchmark Investment Consulting, Canadian Tire, Alex and Lily's Shoe and Swimwear that we've just seen a couple minutes ago, walking by in front of our camera. We have Atletis Canada, Greater Moncton Running Club, Atletis Nouveau-Brunswick, Course Nouveau-Brunswick, Canadian Master Athletics Association. We have the National Bank, La Savonnerie Olivier, Dual Corporate Image, maximum signs, and lastly, marketing communication. So now, as you can see, that's Julianne Stally, the winner here at the Medavie 5K Canadian Championship
So
race.
in both races, interestingly, our favorites won. Sometimes you get the upsets, but today it was I wouldn't say predictable, but it was definitely the two favorites. So now we're gonna throw over for the live interview with Mark in our top three.
The finish line with three absolutely wonderful athletes. What a race! What an event! What a joy to watch you ladies and perform. Leo, you just indicated to me that there's actually a connection other than this race, a Kingston connection. So perhaps just a little bit about yourself, but mostly about your racing, because I'm not sure everyone knew that how good a shape you are and that you would be right here about to step on the podium.
Yeah, well, all of us have lived in Kingston at some point, is what we're discussing. Me first, though. And yeah, I've been really fit for a while, but COVID happened, obviously, and then I started a grad program, so I've been unable to really travel to races, but I've been eager to stick my nose in there for a while.
Well, I'm sure Athletics Canada is going to pay notice because obviously we look for performance, and of course, what might be your aspirations here from this race going forward?
I think I'm looking towards cross country, so try my hand on the grass.
And will that be on this side of the border or which side?
Yeah, Canadian cross country.
It'd be great. It'd be great to see you. What do you have to say about chasing up with these ladies and this race?
Well, they looked beautiful from behind, and it was just really cool to be that close to a couple Olympians. So, yeah, I enjoyed it.
Well, the way you're going, I'm sure you also have that honor as well. Aaron, and I'll just step right beside if I may. Aaron, yes, I was there. I saw you in Rio, and what a performance that was. Quite a few years since then. Here we are, 2022 in Moncton. Tell us about the race today.
Yeah, it's since Rio, it's been a really tough couple of years for me, but you know what, this year I was back feeling like myself, and honestly, just being in a race like this and being competitive, feeling like I'm going for the win, whether I got it or not, it felt really great. It just it feels good to be running my best there.
Well, that's what they say. You come to Moncton and you get the best out of you. That's what Mayor Don Arnold was saying a little bit earlier. So what's looking out for a year? What's on for you?
This is my last race of the season, so I'm going to take a little downtime, just not think about running for a little while. I just started grad school, so I'm going to focus on that right now. But of course, get back to running and see where the season goes. I'm not too sure yet.
All right. Hey, Aaron, it's just great to have you here. And as I was saying, you were recalling you were here before the Worlds. So you were one of the first athletes to compete right here on the track at the stadium when it first opened. So great to have you back.
I ran my PB in high school there.
You ran the PB in high school, so we do bring the best out of you. Julianne, again, you as well, I think it's similar to these ladies, your level just keeps rising. So tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go into it.
Yeah, I've had a quiet summer, not much in terms of the track. I just came back from Commonwealth Games, so a bit of an injury in the spring, and then had that in the middle of between July and August. So I've just sort of been building. This is like almost season opener. I'm excited to just kind of get rolling and see what the fall brings.
And so, what about this race today? You got, there's 3 of you and 4 of you, and I'm sure we all saw people coming out here so strong. But what's going through your mind, and how did you engineer all this?
Definitely, like in good company. I always get excited when I see the staff field. Canadian Championships coming back. I'm in Boston now, so coming home I think is really special. And being in Moncton too, I think these small towns, this is something that's really close to my heart. I come from a very small town in Lucknow, Ontario, so I love that community aspect, that feel, energy up here is awesome, and just, it's my favorite distance. I love it.
Well, Moncton loves you, all of you ladies, and in fact, shortly thereafter, on behalf of all of the organizing committee volunteers and our sponsors, we want to thank you and all your competitors for being here. We'll have the opportunity to join us. There'll be reception and nutrients and foods and we'll have a chance to chat more closely. But thank you again for being Canadian champion for the 5K women's elite 2022. Julianne Salt is silver medalist there. Thank you. Leo boy. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you so much, Marc Lalonde, pour avoir fait l'entrevue des top 3 chez les femmes. Thank you for Marc Lalonde to doing the interview in the women's top 3 on the elite side. We're actually going to do a kind of a recap here of this morning's festivities in terms of obviously on the open side, there was Antonin Gigard with a time of 16 minutes and 16 seconds, followed by couple more athletes there on the open 5K here. We'll get the results here. Thank you for Atlantic Chip for providing us these fast and quick times. Ian Holdaway, I should say, from Halifax in 16:29, and Jeff Gorman in 16:29 as well for a tight finish for the top 3.
And on the women's in the open, it was Isabel Turner, Paula Keating, and Anouk Doiron, all in that 18:41 to 18:57 time frame. So a pretty tight bunch for the top 3 on the women's side in the open race. A good race.
And obviously the most keen anticipated race was the men's 5K elite. Finished with a strong kick in the latter stage. Ben Flanagan finishing in 13:38, shy of 3 seconds from the Canadian record that still stands par Charles Philibert Tipeteau, qui a été fait cette année en 2022 sur la course sur route de 5 km, juste avant le marathon de Boston au mois d'avril. Closely by, we do have John Gay as well, finishing in second in 13:58. These guys actually took it out basically at Canadian record pace. And there's Andrew Alexander rounding up the top 3 in 14:06 with a finishing time. Good to have them racing here in Moncton.
Well, why don't you go all the way down to 7? We got the prize money down to 7, so let's take it all the way through.
That's right. And Lucas Bruchet finishing in 14:08. Fourth, Mitch Hubin finishing in 14:09. So a very tight finish at the end with the latter stage. Justin Kent, the marathon guy now, finishing in 14:10. And to round out the top 7, Connor Black, the Guelph alumni, in 14:15. That's on the men's elite side.
So another great race in the women's we all just saw. To round out the top 7 there, we had Julianne Sally, obviously in first. We just heard from her. Aaron Teschuk in second. Cleo Boyd in third. All of them pretty tight bunch, 15:55, 16:06, and 16:12. Then fourth place was Regan Yee with 16:28. Sasha Golish, like I mentioned, actually eligible to compete in the Masters Championships, but chose to run here with the elite field because she's definitely an elite athlete with a Masters world record even, 16:45. Erin Mawhinney, 6th place, 17 flat, 17:02 for Michelle Krasnowski. So that rounds out our top 7 in the women's race. So one last time, we'd just like to thank our sponsors, all of the ones we named earlier, but particularly the presenting sponsors, Medavie, Irving Consumer Products, Royale, Lansbury Group, and IA Financial Group.
Oui, surtout, merci beaucoup de nous avoir été sur nos zones. We thank you so much for tuning in at this Medavie 5K Canadian Road Championships. And we'll see next year if we can actually have a virtual or a live race. Hopefully we'll get the live race, as it was very fast and exciting. Getting that close to that Canadian record on the men's side, but definitely very good weather. And my name is again, mon nom c'est Jérémy Pellerin, qui a été commentateur tout cet avant-midi, joined with none other than Nick McMacken here. So thanks so much again for tuning in, and we'll have let the athletes kind of do their last cool down and get ready. Some even will probably take flights to go back home tonight and get back to their training and basically start off either a cross-country season or kind of building back up for next year. So until then, guys, thanks so much again. And
thank you.
We'll talk to you in the next year's edition.